Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network, powered by Betr, on a very thankful Thursday evening. That's my word for today, boys. Thankful. Very thankful to be here with you guys tonight. Very thankful that you have chosen this network to provide you with a little bit of entertainment over the next 2 hours as we are live, as we always are, Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock here on this channel. If you are not already, please go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to handle some business up here up front because this opening, a little bit longer than most. Your boy got a little perturbed about something today. But nonetheless, want to ask you to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. It is always, as always, rather, a loaded show here. Last show, best show. It is a Thursday night show for you guys tonight. I want to start with this quote: a competition between nations for superiority in the development and the acclimation of weapons. What is that? What is this guy talking about? That is the definition of an arms race. We have football rosters nowadays in college football who are bound only by budget, right? If you want to be great, it's nice and simple. Get your money up. Go out and buy a great roster. That's nice and simple. It's as period, point blank as possibly can be. And man, I got to tell you, man, when NIL and this ability, kind of this wild, wild west nature of college football, this ability to just band up and go get the best roster possible, when that idea and that kind of recipe for success to roster building, when that brought its forefront to college football, it was rather easy for me, at least personally, to mentally forecast our sport was eventually turning, and it was turning right in front of our eyes, from what I would deem a facilities race, which is where every football team was just trying to build the nicest facilities in order to get the best football players. So we had for like 15, 20 years in college football, particularly in the Southeast. We went from a facilities race to what now I would clearly deem a arms race, where now instead of buying new facilities, we're buying new quarterbacks. We're buying new wide receivers. We're buying new offensive linemen. We are buying weaponry. That's what we are doing. We turned it from a facilities race into an arms race. And I don't know about you, but when arms race get involved, when arms race exists, they're not really bound by moral compasses. They don't really have very strong moral compasses, I should say. They kind of just go wherever the money is, and they do whatever they need to do to acquire the money that they need to acquire to continue to compete within this arms race. Eventually, in the name of winning, I knew somebody was going to lay down with some dirty ass money. It was nice and easy to see that the recipe was laid out for someone to lay down with some sharks, to lay down with some dirty ass money in the namesake of winning football games, in the namesake of player acquisition. I just knew it. I just knew eventually somebody was going to do it. And I wasn't talking about like, hey, the funny money down there in Miami, right? That crypto money with John Ruiz, that's funny money, right? I'm not talking about Nike money. That's legal money. That's just billionaires being rich. I'm not even talking about like Texas oil money, where we talk about, oh, they just got lucky and got rich. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dirty ass money. Eventually, someone was going to do it. Somebody was going to get in bed with that Saudi Arabia money. We saw it sneaking its way into American sports, right? This Saudi Arabia PIF fund, this fund where they're out here sports washing, basically, right? We knew eventually, at least on this network, that eventually this was going to find its way into college football. I was circling in pencil Florida State, nice and desperate. Florida State trying to get up out that ACC contract while also simultaneously trying to compete really, really hard on the recruiting front, while also simultaneously trying to get transfers in, while also simultaneously talking about how much money they had. I thought the desperation reeked on Florida State. I thought that might be the team. But what I failed to realize was desperation alone was not enough to get in bed with this Saudi Arabia money. In order to get in bed with this Saudi Arabia money, you kind of had to have almost like a demigod complex, in the sense that you don't think anyone's opinion of you matters at all. In order to lay down with Saudi Arabia money, you got to be one of these humans that just thinks, hey, it don't matter what other people think about me. I think about myself this way, and that's all that matters, right? You got to have kind of, like I said, a demigod complex to think that the backlash of this just isn't going to matter, right? That you could just get down in bed with some Saudi Arabia money and think, Ain't nobody going to give me no shit. I'm about to go win some football games. Do we know of anybody in college football that might have a demigod complex, that think they can't do no wrong, that thinks they're always in the right? Do we have anybody like that might fit that demographic, boys?
Maybe someone as of late, I would say.
Yeah. Maybe someone who's like extremely successful.
Yeah.
And they never really felt like they. Maybe like a Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Deion Sanders. Title, and I quote, Colorado sought NIL funding from Saudi Arabia's PIF in unprecedented move. Again, what is Saudi Arabia PIF? That PIF stands for, who cares? Public Investment Fund. That's what it stands for. The Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund is just about $1 trillion worth of oil money that they're just sitting around waiting to buy and get affiliated with sports around the world. They bought F1 teams. They bought MLS soccer teams. They bought Manchester United or a piece of it. They've bought, portions of all kinds of shit. Oh, they bought golf, right? All they're trying to do is take people's attention away from some of their human rights violation and talk a little bit more about sports. Shout out Cristiano Ronaldo, also making $1 billion from Saudi Arabia right now playing sport. But eventually, I knew somebody was going to do this, and we have an article today saying Colorado tried. I don't know why it fell through, but it fell through nonetheless. We found out today Colorado tried. This article comes from Jeff Hauser and Jason Jones, affiliate of SI.com, Colorado Buffaloes on SI.com. Some fine reporting from these guys today, even though as much as I am pro-journalism and as much as I am pro-SI.com, there were some things in this article that didn't sit right with me. So I'm not going to tell you they're going to catch some strays, but they might catch some strays at the end of this. Either way, after this, I want to read you some quotes right here. This comes from Trevor Riley, who is the former special teams coordinator, who is the individual that was willing to put his name on these quotes. And they're not great. I want to read it to you. Quote, I even went to Saudi Arabia and got a meeting with the Saudis who were interested in pursuing business. I have emails and receipts to prove it, and you guys let that fall on his face. This was in this came in a resignation letter that he sent to the Colorado athletic director, Rick George, and Sanders. It was reviewed ultimately by Sports Illustrated. So this individual released this resignation letter to Sports Illustrated, and this is where these quotes are coming from. This quote is directly in that resignation letter, basically saying, hey, I flew over to Saudi Arabia on you guys' request to talk to these folks. They were heavily interested in doing so. You let that fall on its face in your hands. So I kind of thought it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen this fast, and I didn't identify that Deion would be the one doing it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too that I think that this almost feels like retaliation from the coach, because in that article it also mentions that I guess he was at Jackson State with Deion.
Yeah.
And then he was brought up to Colorado, promised that he was going to be the special teams coordinator while also helping out the NIL fund so that he could have free time to help out with the NIL fund. He was paid $90,000, and the things that he was not promised were not given to him despite all these efforts that he was going to. He even talks about reaching out to every single Mormon contact that he has that had like $3 trillion worth.
That was interesting. I didn't realize the Mormons had bread like that.
I didn't either, but there was a lot of weird things that are like, yeah, I'm getting these guys for them not giving me my promises.
It was a very interesting article.
Yeah.
And a very interesting storyline. And I presume the reason it fell through is because somebody in the administration department out there at Colorado had some lick of sense. Some lick of sense. And I'm going to be honest with you. At some point in this article turns from kind of like, hey, man, isn't this a crazy idea, to like almost pro taking Saudi Arabia money. I want to read you this portion of this article right here. Give me 1 second. Quote, just imagine what Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's NIL evaluations would be with this kind of backing. Even better, imagine what it might look like for the significant contributors who are not named Sanders or Hunter. This could be the sledgehammer that allows Colorado to break through the glass ceiling that would allow them to compete dollar for dollar with the bigger, more consistent programs of the Power Four. Where this gets really interesting is how it will be received by the masses. To Riley's point, there is nothing illegal, ill-advised, or even frowned upon. When it comes to NIL, the money has to come from somewhere. In this particular case, it just so happens to not come from someone inside of Colorado. Would it be better if CU alums, boosters, or other Colorado interests were the ones funding the NIL deals? Yes. The only question is, how will this land for the individual fan? Buddy, to Riley's point, there is nothing illegal or ill-advised about taking Saudi Arabia money. Boys, we have my favorite top 5 list ever released on the Film Guy Network. Top 5 reasons Saudi Arabia money should be indeed frowned upon. Are we ready?
Yes.
Outside looking in. No free speech. None of it. You are very liable to be held and possibly executed for whatever you say in Saudi Arabia. That's the outside looking in. Top 5 reasons that Saudi Arabia money should be frowned upon. Number 5, they have what's called forced evictions, boys. And I feel goofy for having to do this on a sports show, but Saudi Arabia money is trying to find its way into college football, so I have to talk about it now. Reason number 5, forced evictions. If they want to build a structure in Saudi Arabia, maybe a brand new hotel or a brand new business, and you have, I don't know, a house on that land, doesn't matter. They get to blow your house up, move you away. Where are you going to move? I don't know. Your problem, not mine. It's Saudi Arabia. Forced evictions. Screw you. Government rule. Reason number 4, why Saudi Arabia money should be frowned upon. A gentleman by the name of Raif Badawi. Have you heard of this man?
Have not.
Raif Badawi. All he did, started an online blog. It was of political nature, but started an online blog. You know what you get for starting an online blog in Saudi Arabia?
Unalived.
10 years. 10 years in prison, but here's the best part. 1,000 public lashings. Like it's 19, I don't know. Public lashings, 1,000 of them for starting an online forum. Jesus, I hope they don't come for me. Reason number 3, why taking Saudi Arabia money might be frowned upon. They once gave a 27-year prison sentence to a woman for tweeting about women's rights. 27 years in prison. Reason number 2 why Saudi Arabia money should be frowned upon if accepted by a college football program. Did you know that in Saudi Arabia, women have to legally claim an owner?
What?
Yeah. If you're a woman in Saudi Arabia, you have to claim, a guardian. It has to be a male, and guess what? Not of your choosing. You're claimed by a male in the world that just claims you their property because you're born a woman. Reason number 1 why accepting Saudi Arabia money to buy the next 5-star should be frowned upon. Mass executions. Did you know that on March 12th of 2022, the Saudi Arabia government executed 81 men in a singular day? Saudi Arabia money. Somebody's got to pay these athletes.
It's got to come from somewhere.
It's not ill-advised or frowned upon. Dude, what are you talking about? Even the Chinese know that you can't lay down with the Saudi Arabia money.
I think it is so funny now that I'm thinking about it, how this man went from emptying the clip from the Mormon church. Let me go contact everybody in the Mormon church that I know who are worth $3 trillion. To then, the Saudis, these people have money. Like, that is such a major difference in types of people and morals and everything. Like, that was a complete 180 that guy did.
It's also very funny how Colorado, for the last, 18 months, has kind of just been the annoying thorn in everyone's side, where it's like, they're relevant simply because they talk a lot of smack and they're loud. To where now it's like a very big moral issue as to what they're doing. Now, they haven't accepted any money yet, have they?
And they're not gonna.
But the fact that they seeked it out.
Yeah, the fact that in the quotes, my man said, on behalf of Colorado's football program, I flew to Saudi Arabia and sat down with the government about taking millions to buy football players.
Good God.
It just screams tone deaf.
Yeah.
Just completely tone deaf. The article screamed tone deaf at the end. The whole idea of going to get this type of money or trying to do this screams tone deaf. But, it's not, is it the most tone deaf thing Deion's done? Probably.
Yeah.
But, I can't wait to see his next press conference, because I would imagine maybe he's asked about this.
He won't answer it.
No, but I can't wait to see what he says about the report. Whether he causes defamation on the report, whether he says it's bullshit or whatever he says, or really completely denies this. I didn't know nothing about that, because he's got plausible deniability, you would imagine.
Yeah.
Even though nothing illegal, apparently.
Plus, not even just the program, but imagine you being a recruit. Colorado just tells you like, hey, we've got $100,000 for you. And then you find out maybe years later, like they got that from Saudi Arabia. That was Saudi money that they gave you. Like, I feel like that'd be conflicting with people as human beings as well, knowing that that's where their money came from.
Yeah, your NIL check's a little dirty.
Yeah.
People saying, Brooks, you buy Saudi gas every day. Yeah, I don't have an option, buddy. I don't have an option. But with regards to NIL money and where you seek it, you definitely have options. And taking Saudi Arabia money is not one of the options that I would be settling with. So there's that. Welcome in. We've got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Nick Saban quotes revealed. You know, something funny about when you retire, all the good quotes come out right after that. We're going to play a little game called Pressure Gauge tonight. This comes from a friend of the show, Andy Staples, did a little example of this. We're going to expound upon that at a much higher rate. Bama stole a kicker? Question mark? Bama stole a kicker. We got some quotes. Maybe this year's version of Biff Poggi. Maybe a mid-major coach that we're going to stand like nobody's business, perhaps, tonight on the show. Which top five team confirms history? Which top 5 team confirms history? How would you give me a brief one-sentence synopsis of the banger of a segment you got for me later?
Long story short, one of these top 5 teams historically is usually really, really bad at one thing.
Hell yeah. Sounds good. Hey, shout out to Betr. Want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Betr. Love those who support us. If you're not supporting those who support this network, please feel free to start doing so today. Betr now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play now in 23 states, including the fine state of Georgia. Betr is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks or click the link in the description today. What does that mean? That means if you use promo code Brooks today, you can put up to $250 right now and get a 100% deposit match over on Betr. And guess what? We got college football this week. We have a live play coming your way in the local hour here with our friends over at Betr. Super excited. Those guys joined us this year. No better way to get in on some action than with Betr and getting in on those live prop plays for college football and beyond. Appreciate those guys for supporting us. Also, some business I need to take care of right quick. Folks been asking about a live show. Hey, Brooks, are we going to have another live show? Hey, Brooks, are we going to have another live show? We are indeed going to have another live show. I was contacted by Creature Comforts today. They want to host us the morning of September 7th for the Tennessee Tech football game. So if you want to come and watch a football game in Athens, probably not a cheaper ticket of the year than Tennessee Tech at home. Probably. Is that fair to say?
Usually they play another mid-major team, don't they?
A really cheap ticket for you, okay?
Yes.
A really affordable ticket, and better yet, you get to spend some time with us over at Creature Comforts. Come hang out, come drink a beer. We're going to have a live show over there for you guys to watch and enjoy, and then we can just hang out after that before we all have to go to the show and enjoy that. Again, that is September 7th at Creature Comforts. Doors open at 11, free admission. All you got to do is buy a couple beers.
That ain't a bad admission price.
No, it ain't.
It's not a bad admission price. You're probably going to pay $9 for them at Sanford anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got beer this year.
Yep.
In one specific area of the stadium? Don't you have to go to one area?
Probably.
I think so.
That line's going to be a pain in the ass.
Just go with the old, shoot in the boot.
Oh, yeah, I mean.
Little shooter in the boot. You'll be all right. Hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Where do you guys want to go next, boys?
Where do we want to go next?
I mean, I got an inkling you might want to go to the Nick Saban stuff.
All right, well, let's go to the Nick Saban stuff.
If I can find it. Oh, it's right here in my hand. How about
Nice.
that?
Look at
Nick
that.
Saban. I call these the now we can tell them stories. I feel like this really happens in professional leagues where a player gets traded and then all of a sudden one of the main primary B reporters suddenly comes out with all these stories about how bad they were in the locker room or how fun they were in the locker room, or these outlandish stories that they couldn't tell why that individual were in that area. Every time a GOAT of GOATs retires, you can guarantee one of these stories or one of these quotes or one of these rehashings of storytellings is definitely going to come out, especially someone of the lore of Nick Saban. Nick Saban's books are on the way. All right, there's going to be a litany of these things. I'm pretty sure he's already had several written about him. There's another one coming out really, really soon called what's this called? The Price: What It Takes to Win by John Talty and Armin Do we settle on a pronunciation of Armin's last name?
I can't even remember.
Let's just do the initial.
Our man Armin K and John Tauti. The book is called The Price: What It Takes to Win. And I honestly believe, I don't know if I'm ever going to write a book, because the attention span to write a book is probably not something I'm going to have. Maybe a documentary. That's what we do. Maybe a mockumentary. Make jokes the whole time about my own career. But anyways, I don't know if I'm ever going to write a documentary or a biography, because they're really, really long. But when you do, the key to promoting these is to have like one or two real clicky and grabby quotes. And then every time you do a media availability promoting that book, you have to leak that quote. So we have that quote now from this Nick Saban book, and it's pretty damn good, and it revolves around Lane Kiffin. So I'm going to read from this. I'm going to read because you don't. I know, maybe you should buy this book and support journalism, but I can almost guarantee, especially the Georgia fans listening to this, you probably ain't going to read this whole book. But this whole book does have this one really, really good quote in it, and I'm going to read it to you now. Quote, when I met him, when I met with him about coming here, I said we have to change. We have to study. We have to figure out all these RPOs and all this spread offense and these motions and all these things we do. Saban said in a 2022 radio show interview appearance. And Lane is a really smart guy, so he was a good guy to really dive into this. This is obviously Nick Saban talking about the process of hiring Lane Kiffin. However, there was a little bit of turmoil between these two and their relationships during the time out there in Tuscaloosa. Only spent 3 years out there with Nick Saban, but it was tumultuous to say the least. Did I say that right? That word right?
Yeah.
Tumultuous?
You used it right.
One such moment came when Kiffin called Sexton, warning him that an angry Saban was about to call. Why? The offensive coordinator told the head coach, quote, he didn't know what he was talking about in a meeting. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. In the middle of an offensive meeting, you telling Nick Saban he don't know what he's talking about. True to form, Saban's less than cheerful call came within minutes. Quote, that son of a bitch, Saban said to his agent, according to the book, I'm going to fire you, Jimmy. I'm going to fire you for ever talking me into hiring that narcissistic prick. The agent, who reps a solid majority of the SEC coaches, including Alabama's Kalen DeBoer and Auburn's Hugh Freeze, had to talk Saban down that day, but the two would continue to have their moments. The book quoted a Saban conversation with another former assistant about Kiffin being the only assistant who constantly questioned Saban and, quote, refused to adapt to Saban's preferred approach. Quote, I ain't never had an effing coach I can't control, a disgusted Saban once told an assistant.
Now we know why it was only 3 years.
There was these inklings during the time of the Saban era where when he was there. It was kind of like there's a lot of tension between the two. So it's kind of nice to see the curtain unveiled a little bit.
There was a lot of famous run the damn ball Berts, like examples on the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
I almost wonder why Kiffin continued to call plays on the sideline. Mm-hmm. Dude, just get in the box. Like you're constantly opening yourself up to these public ass chewings. Some of that sideline television, some of the best sideline television we've seen in a long, long time. I think that and Big Fat Red Face on Will Muschamp. Pretty good moments of sideline cameras.
Watching Spurrier get mad at the South Carolina years was a lot of fun too.
Throw in the visor. That's pretty iconic.
Kirby sideline Alabama, a little bit more exuding of emotions than they are now. Animated. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
A little bit animated. Part due to age and part due to role. When you're a defensive coordinator, you kind of got to be a high energy guy. Any other famous had to watch? Watching any Dan Mullen sideline was hysterical to me. That was classic because I was like, what is this dum-dum going to do now?
What is this dum-dum going to do now?
Butch Jones was fun to watch just to see how ready yet.
Butch Jones still fun to watch.
Still at Arkansas State, surprisingly.
Yeah. Hot seat alert, Butch Jones.
I feel like he's been on the hot seat for 3 seasons.
I mean, why wouldn't he be? You know?
I don't know how
Arkansas State. I feel like you're on the hot seat the moment you take that job at Arkansas State.
Probably. Are you? I don't know.
Here's how you know. Will you stats reference me Arkansas State's school history? Tell me when was the last time Arkansas State had 10 wins in a season? I'm gonna go once over the last 20 years.
Yeah, but does that automatically?
What say you? Yeah, if you're randomly winning, if you can only have one 10-win season every 20 years, you're perpetually on the verge of being fired.
What did you say?
I said one 10-win season in the last 20 years. That's my bet.
Okay, well you're wrong.
Okay, they got a string of them.
They had back-to-back 10-win seasons in 2011, 2012, but those are the only ones outside of 1975.
So they've had 3.
They've had 3 since 1975.
Yeah, so Arkansas State's head coach perpetually on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thoughts on this? First of all, I thought the most impressive or most noteworthy thing about this is that Jimmy Sexton made Nick Saban hire Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Like when he said like, I hate that you even talked me into hiring this prick.
Yeah,
I was like, why is your agent the one talking you into hiring somebody? So Jimmy Sexton, no ball? Question mark.
I mean, this is also a very
Jimmy
obvious.
Sexton, notorious ball killer? Question mark.
Could be. I mean, he knows which coaches to sign. So
yeah, he knows who to represent.
it could be.
Sure.
This also is very clearly Nick Saban having an emotional reaction to something, like saying, "I'm going to fire my agent because he convinced me to hire an offensive coordinator." Like, none of that's ever going to happen. So the idea that maybe Jimmy Sexton didn't have as much to do with hiring Lane Kiffin as Nick Saban's alluding to, but
it read like, oh, this is just a weekly occurrence. Like, oh, I'm about to get my weekly Nick Saban's going to come chew my ass out.
The quote that stood out to me also was I ain't never had a coach I couldn't control. That guy ain't fun to work for. Can't be. Like if Nick Saban didn't win, he would run coaches out left and right. People would not work for that guy.
Yeah.
It just sounds miserable.
I mean, other than Kirby Smart, like, who stayed with him for a long time? Like, I can't think of anyone who was on his staff for like 10 years.
Sounds like
now granted, it's because they all got promotions. They all moved up in the ranks, but there wasn't a Glenn Schumann on a Nick Saban staff. Mm-hmm. I don't remember there being a Todd Hartley.
Definitely sounds like it would take some years off of your life being there.
Yeah.
Very high intense environment.
There's questions about in the chat about how many times you think Jimmy had to talk Saban off the cliff. It was actually the other way around. It sounded like Kiffin was the one that wanted to leave. Quote, I was screaming at him, Sexton, Sexton said, according to the price. Let's go play the game today. Let's win the game today. If you win games, you'll get a job. People don't hire guys who are losing. They hire guys who are winning. That's him talking to Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, after year one, wanted to get up out of there. Didn't have the right job offers, according to Jimmy Sexton.
Sounds like on game day, he was like, bro, just go coach the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, we talked about the ESPN article earlier this summer where it was a bunch of Saban stories about playing pickup basketball while they were at LSU and how you played pickup basketball Saban's way. And if you didn't play it Saban's way, then you had to get on up out of there. You weren't allowed to play. So like every single thing, it sounds like, it was how Saban wanted it to be. Now, that's by design. The guy had a lot of success because it was organized that way, but the environment itself, yeah, you're right. Probably not exactly the most joyous place to be.
I think this is, and it always turns to a Kirby conversation, but no shocker there. I wonder if this is something that you hear coaches talk about how Kirby took what the Saban model was, the cultural standards, the standard of execution, all the Bama-isms, brought him to Georgia and put his flair on things, his spin on things. I don't think Trey Scott is miserable coaching at the University of Georgia under Kirby Smart.
No.
I don't feel as if he thinks he is controlled by Kirby Smart.
I'll do you one better. I don't think that Todd Monken was miserable because he was only there for 3 years.
I think Todd Monken's just a miserable individual.
Well, I don't think Todd Monken was miserable because he was coaching under Kirby Smart. I
got that SOB to smile one time in a photo. Once. It was a championship parade.
One of his last few days at
It was
UGA.
the last photo I ever took of him.
Yeah.
He was already out, basically.
Yeah.
But no, I think Todd Monken are characterizations of him of being a guy who likes to drink bourbon out of a solo or a styrofoam cup while just mainlining Marlboro Reds. I think that's the exact and coffee in the morning, no water ever.
Yeah.
Always with a styrofoam cup, either drinking coffee or bourbon and just mainlining cigarettes, never with a smile, always pissed off. That's Todd Monken. So I don't think he has fun in general. I think Todd Hartley doesn't exist at the rate Todd Hartley does at Alabama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. There's obvious that Kirby Smart's kind of changed some semblances of that program to make it his own, and it seems to be paying off for the better.
Pressure gauge?
Pressure gauge.
I was trying to drag that segment out. We'll pull the curtain back here.
I mean, I could do another. I mean, we've talked about this, I think, a couple times on the show of how when we went back and watched Kirby Smart's first ever press conference when he came to Georgia, he didn't specifically say it, but he basically said he knew that he was going to have to change some things that Nick Saban did. at Georgia. Like, he was going to have to do some things differently. Like, he knew, I can't just copy and paste what Saban did at Alabama and bring it to Georgia. So it's like Kirby was aware that he not only wanted to, but he felt like he probably had to change some things to make sure that he had the program where he wanted it to be.
And since he's taken this job, the workload of college football coaches has dramatically changed and increased at a rate that's a little bit absurd. So he's probably had to change the styles of the things that he was doing even early on in his own career.
Yeah, and maybe Saban did that as well over the past couple of years or past few years at Alabama. Maybe he did kind of start changing some things because he felt like he had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to make working in an environment like that enjoyable because it's your workplace 24/7. Probably 75% of your hours a year are spent working for Georgia football. So you have to make it at least enjoyable. And I mean, we know that every now and then coaches are kind of like, oh, this sucks. But for the most part, I think if you ask every Georgia football staff member, they would say they enjoy they do what they're doing.
And I think to a man, Alabama coaches will tell you that in public, but I think I said that backwards. In public, they'll tell you that to a man. They'll be like, whew, that was tough. Mm-hmm. It was the hardest years of my life. And I think that's what the coaches that I talked to, they knew that going into the Saban regime. It was like, I'm about to be grinded down to the bone, but it comes with success. I win, and I'm going to get out of here eventually.
Very similar to what you hear about the Patriots during the peak of the Belichick-Brady years.
How many different times do you think Jimmy Sexton did this? I used to think that, Saban would take these analysts and revamp their career. Sark, he did this with Kiffin, not as an analyst, but immediately to an OC. He did this with Butch Jones. He did this with Jeremy Pruitt. He's done this in years past where he takes these guys. I wonder how many of those guys were Jimmy Sexton agent or clients.
Probably a lot of them. Probably
all of them.
Yeah, that's
what I was thinking. Probably all of them.
Yeah.
And it was probably a mutual, I'm going to make sure you get your bread. And then you keep recycling these guys because you're my bell cow. You think Jimmy Sexton starts to do this now to Kirby? Or is like, hey, I got this fired client.
Yeah.
You should put him on your staff.
Maybe. I mean, we've kind of now it goes against it because
Kirby just does it with his best friends.
I was going to say, Will Muschamp's kind of an example of this, but I don't think Will Muschamp is looking to ever progress again to the head coaching position, similar with Mike Bobo. Yeah. But I mean, there have been examples of Georgia coaches or Kirby Smart saying, oh, you're someone who's fired as an OC or you didn't make it as a head coach in this league. Come be an analyst for us for 1 year. Hey, maybe next year you'll be the DC or the OC or move on up the ranks. Now, it just so happens that seems to be kind of the finality where it is because I don't think Mike Bobo really wants to be a head coach. I don't think Will Muschamp has any interest in doing that. So that's where it seems to end. But it does happen.
All right, let's get into this pressure gauge discussion. All right, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give you two names. We're going to discuss who has the most pressure on them. We're going to go this season with this. Yeah. Okay, not the first week, none of that. This season, who has the most pressure on them? First debate right here: DJU down at Florida State or the man who replaced him at Clemson, Cade Klubnik. Who's got more pressure on them this year to perform at a high level?
DJU, because there's serious talks about FSU being a playoff team, one, and Cade Klubnik is not as much of a prove it year. Like DJU didn't succeed at Clemson. He didn't really succeed at his other school. It was Oklahoma State?
Yep.
Oregon State. So, I mean, there's a lot of, this is your last shot if you're DJU. Whereas Cade Klubnik, it's kind of one of your last chances, but he's got another year of eligibility left as well. So, DJU is my opinion for that.
I would say Cade because I think the excuses are built in at Florida State. And Florida State fans have no issues going into those excuses. It would be, if DJU is bad this year, it's not because Florida State didn't hit on the transfer portal quarterback market. It's because they lost their top two wide receivers. They lost their running back from a year ago. They lost so many players to the NFL that it was going to be difficult for them to rebound this next year and make a push for the playoff if DJU isn't as good. Whereas Cade, I mean, we're going into another year where last year you got a full year of experience where this offseason is supposed to be where you take a big step in your trajectory as a quarterback. You're supposed to be even better. People seem to have those expectations that he will take a massive leap forward this year. And if he fails to get Clemson to an ACC championship game or he fails to get Clemson to a college football playoff, I don't think Clemson fans would be as receptive for that as Florida State fans would be for DJU.
I think the answer is Cade Klubnik because of everything you just said, on top of the fact that he doesn't have near as much help around him as DJU. Like DJU is going to have a solid running game around him. He's going to have a really good offensive line in front of him for ACC standards. Okay, the weaponry is an issue at Clemson or at Florida State, no different than it is at Clemson.
Yeah.
In fact, I might say like maybe Clemson. It's crazy, but maybe Clemson has more known commodities at receiver than even Florida State does.
Yeah,
that sounds wild to say because everybody bags on Clemson's weapons, but from a help around you standpoint and just general setup around the football team, I think there's going to be less required for DJ to have to do than Cade. I think Cade's going to have moments of time this year where the offense looks to him to have to be a superhero without superhero traits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's going to have to find the gadgets and the gizmos like Batman instead of flying through the building like Superman.
Yeah, and I think because Florida State kind of got, but you could say it for both of those. I think because Florida State kind of got a taste of success last year, where it feels like Clemson's kind of getting back into the starving stages of success, it feels like there's a little bit more pressure on Cade Klubnik to perform.
I think Florida State has higher expectations this year than Clemson does, and that brings pressure on the starting quarterback. So I'll still stick with DJU, but I could see why it's Cade.
I think inside the building, both of these teams have a standard to win the ACC championship.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know how much different the expectations are for either of these programs, personally.
Yeah.
All right, who's up next?
I've got one. Who's under more pressure this year? Graham Mertz, Lenora Sellers. The success of your season kind of hinges on keeping your coach's job.
I think it's Mertz because he's got a threat behind him. He's got a threat behind him. Year 2, last year, college football. If he wants any hope of playing in the NFL, he's got to play really well this year, while also flashing physical NFL traits. Lenora Sellers will be given such a long leash as long as he flashes, which I'm telling you right now, Lenora Sellers is going to flash. There's going to be moments where you're like, shit, this guy is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's Mertz as well. I just felt like those are the two biggest similarities between the two.
I like that you threw in there both have to save their job.
Yeah.
Not even their job, their coach's job, really.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, both of them are in positions where I don't know if they personally feel like this, but everybody else probably views it as those two quarterbacks are fighting for their head coach's job. Like, their success also is attached to their head coach keeping their job this season. So
some people claim that there's a woman.
Is that the only Jimmy Buffett song you know?
But I don't. No, I mean, Cheeseburger in Paradise. Okay. Jimmy Buffett is one of those guys that you got to play the song for me to sing it. I can't just rip off the Buffett catalog.
That's fair.
Who's under more pressure, Isaiah Bond or Evan Stewart?
I feel like Isaiah Bond has already lived up to the 3-star rating that he had. I mean, he's had a 650-yard season. He's played really well. He's flashed the things that are going to make him play on Sunday, which is the verticality and the explosivity and all that. Evan Stewart has not played like the number 1 wide receiver in America.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart's got aspirations of being a true number 1 in the league one day. He's got to play really well this year.
I agree with that one. I had a similar one to that, Jay. Well, I said who's under more pressure, Evan Stewart or Julian Fleming. Two guys that were really highly praised coming out, haven't really lived up to the hype, had to switch teams. Two teams that should be competing for the playoff spot this year. Who's under more pressure between those two?
You said who?
Julian Fleming or Evan Stewart?
Evan Stewart's gonna get drafted no matter what. Julian Fleming, I don't know.
Hasn't really made anything shake.
Nah, not for dude. His high school highlight tape was whew,
Oh, I remember.
Crazy. Okay, number 1 overall wide receiver coming out of high school, and he has not done much.
Yeah, and it's not great when he was getting passed up on his own roster at Ohio State. Now he's in a position now where he not only has to perform, but he's in the spotlight. Like, the spotlight is Julian Fleming, but I think too he's just kind of in a position where he may not even be allowed or able to show his capabilities in the offense that he's in now. So, I mean, there is more pressure on Julian Fleming, but he might just be in a crap situation anyways.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be screwed now.
What, trying to remember the tune?
Looking for my lost shaker of salt.
Yeah. Those are the lyrics to Margarita.
Who's under? You got one?
Who's under more pressure? You haven't given us one. Go ahead.
No, I did. I gave you Isaiah Bond, Evan Stewart.
Oh, that's right. Who's under more pressure? Nico at Tennessee or Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma? Both first-year starters.
It's different pressure. That's interesting. Nico's is more like, are you going to get us to a national title contention?
Yeah.
And Jackson Arnold's is, are you the right guy? Like, did our coach make a massive mistake letting another guy walk for you?
This year, it's Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma fans, there's so much more attached to Jackson Arnold going into this season than there is Nico. Everybody feels like Nico is certified. That dude's a lock. That dude is a shoe-in to be an elite quarterback in this conference and in the country. Nobody knows what to think about Jackson Arnold. So if Nico went into this season and he was just good, people are going to feel even better about him. Like, oh, he was just good this year. He's going to be even better next year. If Jackson Arnold is just good this year, I don't think that Oklahoma fans are going to be very accepting of that.
Yeah, I feel like Nico, if he has a bad season, it's going to be, hey, give him a year. It was his first year starting. We'll push it to 2025. That's the year when he's going to really develop, when he's really going to be a star in college football. If Jackson Arnold isn't good this year, people are going to say, why the hell did Brett Venables pick this guy? Brett Venables is terrible. He doesn't make right coaching decisions. Jackson Arnold's a bust. We should have stuck with Dylan Gabriel.
You know what's crazy about this one? First of all, I think they both run this very similar offenses. They also both were 5 stars. They also both were like the guy in their recruiting class. They're very similar timelines. But what's craziest to me about this is nationally, everyone has the expectations that Nico is going to be really, really good. I think locally in the Oklahoma fan base and in that coaching staff, everyone has the same exact, he's going to be really, really good expectations for Jackson Arnold. But he doesn't have them nationally.
Yeah.
I don't think nationally everyone's expecting Jackson Arnold or talking about Jackson Arnold like they are Nico this year. For that reason, I think the pressure is more on Nico because people nationally expect him to be good. The narrative is this guy is going to be really, really good. A lot of anticipation for this offense too, and all the weaponry around him.
Yeah, it is more so just like, it's just a question for Jackson Arnold where if you're already stamped and approved as Nico is, or it feels like Nico is right now, and then you don't play up to that standard, then there is some pressure with the national standard around your name. That's a good point. Who's under more pressure, Cam Coleman or Ryan Williams?
That's a good one.
Cam Coleman's going to have to play earlier. Ryan Williams has got some veteran transfers in front of him.
He does have some buffer.
That Sark trust.
Yeah.
Ryan Williams is like one injury away. Cam Coleman's like, we might be playing you week 1.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I'm going to go Cam Coleman.
Yeah,
I think Cam Coleman got a bigger bag.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
Bigger price tag, huh?
I don't know. He ain't have to go as far. You know, Phoenix City to Auburn's like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ryan Williams went all the way from Missouri. Oh, and they had to beat Mizzou, and it's Texas. Nah, Ryan Williams got a bigger check.
For sure.
And he said at Bama. Ryan Williams at Bama.
Yeah.
And who was the other one we're talking about?
Cam Coleman.
I was thinking Ryan Wingo. The kid from St. Louis.
That went to Texas.
Yeah. That kid got a bag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. No, Ryan Williams.
I don't know about these two Alabama in-state kids. I don't know how much they got paid.
I don't know. But I think both of them, I mean, they've already got the algo going for them. There's a bunch of Cam Coleman and Ryan Williams clips floating around.
Big-time algorithm stocks for sure.
Yeah.
Who's got more pressure on them, Cade McNamara or Kyle McCord? That face. I want to see that one. Give me that face. Ugh.
Disgusting.
It's just gross.
Cade McNamara, I guess. Now I think he does.
Yeah. We'll get to that later.
Bro, he plays for Iowa. Don't nobody expect Iowa to be good offensively.
Kyle McCord plays for Syracuse.
I know, but Kyle McCord he's like the guy. And Kyle McCord out here chip on shoulder trying to prove to people that he don't suck. Cade McNamara way past that point. Everybody know he sucked.
This would have been a better question last year because they both hadn't proven that they might not be good at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So I'll say it's Cade McNamara now due to other circumstances. And I think the expectations are kind of less for Kyle McCord. Like, for as low as the bar is for Iowa offense, Kyle McCord's coming into a Syracuse team where it's, hey, our coach is in our first year. We've got this guy from Ohio State, so he must be talented. Let's just see if he can kind of elevate our program enough to where we can advance later. Right, like, they view Kyle McCord as a bridge piece.
Couple more here.
I'll give you one more. Will Howard or Dylan Gabriel?
Dylan Gabriel doesn't have as much around him. And is going to be asked to do a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel for Oregon to be a national title contender is going to have to go for 4,200 yards.
I'm going to go Will Howard because if they don't win a national title, it's going to fall on 2 people, him and Ryan Day. And for the most part, he's going to get the brunt of it because he actually played on the field.
And I'm going to say, ha, 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 nana, nana, boo-boo. Should have listened to anti-Will Howard Deep State.
See?
What do you say?
I think it's Will Howard. I mean, just because Ohio State fans do, I feel like, as they should, it should feel like Natty or bust for them this year in a sense. And if Will Howard's the one that holds you back from that, then yeah, you should feel some type of way.
Jeremiah Smith or Nate Frazier?
Ooh.
It's not the same position.
No, it's not.
It doesn't have to be same position, but I guess.
Real quick.
Show notes. 2 players at the same position who's under the most pressure.
I mean, now you're just all right. Well, here you go.
The OLI of
Disqualified.
pressure
Here you
gauge.
go.
Out of you.
Carson Becker, Quinn Ewers.
That's a good one.
Quinn Ewers.
It's not that good. It's an easy one. Why?
I think he has more to prove. People are already saying Carson Beck is a future number one overall
Carson
pick.
Beck has
I was
more.
going
Carson
there.
Beck has more to lose, though.
Not the reason I was going with Quinn, but I'm definitely going with Quinn.
Okay, why are you going with Quinn?
Arch Manning.
Yeah, the most famous man in college football is right behind him, and he's good.
That's true.
Also, I go Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, more pressure on him. Nate Frazier.
Nate Frazier
out of nowhere.
Got some
Flash.
dudes in
Nate
front of
Frazier
him.
just has to take a handful of touches and make big plays happen. Like Jeremiah Smith might have to actually carry that room.
All right, we have a top 5 stat that I think we might hold for next week. I know you worked really hard on it. We might hold it for last because I definitely want to get to this Kirk Ferentz news, and I definitely want to talk about Bama stealing a kicker.
Okay.
All right. So let's hurry up here. Kirk Ferentz, it was reported today, will be suspended for 1 game for illegally tampering with Cade McNamara, which made me come to the conclusion that cheating to get Cade McNamara on your football team is kind of like shoplifting an almond joy. Why? Cheating to get Cade McNamara on your team is like eating donuts after doing hours of cardio. Why? Cheating to get Cade McNamara on your football team is like getting a car wash right before it rains. Why? Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like getting your teeth whitening before you quit the habit of dipping tobacco. Why? I don't understand this.
Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like speeding past somebody in traffic, only ended up right in front of them at the next stoplight.
I love that.
That's a good one.
I love that. You got any?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of kind of the story of how this is how I pictured it going out. Kirk Ferentz and John Budenmeyer are the 2 guys that got suspended in this. They are at a car dealership looking for, their quote unquote new car to help them win the big race to the offensive thing. So there's Lambos there and there's Supras and McLarens and all these nice cars. And John's going like, gee, coach, I don't know if we can get any of these. These are some really big brand names. And Kirk Ferentz goes, of course you can't, you idiot. We're Iowa football. We're going to steal one. So John gets all excited. He's like, ooh, I've never done anything like this before. We're going to be part of the scandal. He goes, which one are we getting? He's looking at all these nice sports cars. Kirk Ferentz goes, no. I've got the perfect one for us. Follow me. And they walk through the lot and finally get to the back of the lot, and there sits a 2013 Nissan Altima. And that is exactly what it was like for Kirk Ferentz and his staffers to cheat to get Cade McNamara of all things.
Absolutely crazy.
Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like buying $30 worth of lottery tickets, but only putting $5 worth of gas in your gas tank.
Ooh, I like that.
That is a good one.
Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like standing up on the back of the plane as soon as the plane lands, only to still be the last person off the plane.
Oh, yes. I hate that person.
Like, hey, you were first to stand up. You're still last.
Congrats, bro.
You're still in the back, bro.
As soon as the seatbelt ding goes off,
Oh,
ding,
yeah.
and they stare right up in the back of the bus, back of the plane.
They stand there.
Love that.
They stand there the whole time.
Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like paying $65,000 for a brand new Chevy Silverado only to squat it.
Oh.
Amen.
Well, that implies that what you got was good before you got your hands on
That's
it.
true.
I don't know how.
Ooh.
I don't know how.
No,
chat feels
I got
about
it. I got
Let's hear it.
Cheating to get Cade McNamara is like pouring $30,000 worth of renovations into a 2006 Honda Accord that sounds like when it runs off on the track.
You just sounded like my entire high school parking lot.
Oh yeah, we had those.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Are we good on the Kirk Ferentz jokes?
Yeah.
I like it.
Glad we
I'm
got
good on
that
the
in.
Kirk Ferentz jokes. Bama stole a kicker.
Apparently, they're in the business of stealing kickers.
Miami of Ohio kicker.
Yeah.
Miami of Ohio. This is shout out Ben Roethlisberger, Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Miami of Ohio's head football coach in the midst of an interview. Do we have the television station's name?
I don't.
All right. This is in the midst of an interview. It's not even a television station. It's a Miami of Ohio school reporter. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's
It's the PA announcer. All right, so this is a Miami of Ohio employee interviewing the Miami of Ohio head coach about the Miami of Ohio kicker transferring to Alabama. Play sound.
Special teams, lost your kicker. Carter McLaughlin.
He's at. We didn't lose him. He's at Alabama. We know
Yeah,
exactly.
I understand
We know exactly
that.
where he's at. Like you media people, it's all pretend. Like no, Alabama stole our kicker.
Yes, they did.
They illegally recruited
Why do you want to say it,
They
Coach?
illegally recruited our kicker and stole him from us. And like that's a fact. But that's but we act like it's not. We live in this la la world. Like hey, let's not talk. I don't know why everybody knows what's going on. So yeah, Alabama stole our kicker. A couple other schools tried to steal it, but then they okay. What's the question?
What's your favorite part about that?
How important was that freaking kicker to their
Oh, he
team,
must have had
man?
a boot on him.
Let's check his stats. My favorite part is the media member immediately taking offense to shade being thrown at him when the coach is like, all you media members want to act like, and he was like, whoa, man, I just asked a question, man.
That poor media member was fighting for his life in the middle of that, bro. He was like, how am I catching strays right now?
What did you say fuck me for?
What you say fuck me for? I love how he's like, hey, no. We didn't lose him. We know where he's at. He's down there in Alabama. They stole him.
Bro, he missed 2 extra points last year.
He's mid?
He missed 2 extra points, and then he went 27 for 28 on field goals.
Okay, so he's good from field goals.
consistent.
So maybe they got
Rodrigo.
blocked. Maybe they got blocked.
Rodrigo was like this, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he have a streak of like perfect field goals but missed a couple PATs?
Yeah. His name's, I guess it's Graham Nicholson.
Out here still.
He was an All-American.
I mean, I get why you're upset about this because it is, if it did happen, it's cheating, but it's a kicker.
I love the energy that this coach had, though.
Yeah.
I love the coach.
This is definitely someone we're going to have to follow.
I love the long sleeves. We're gonna have to follow my man. What's my man from Miami, Ohio's name? Do we even know his name?
The kicker?
No, the head coach that gave us the sound.
Are we going to give him the buddy from Miami, Ohio?
Yeah, Biff
title?
Poggi, our buddy from Charlotte, is what we're going to give him. We're going to give him that.
Chuck Martin.
Chuck
Martin.
He looks like a Chuck
Elite
Martin.
name.
He looks like a Chuck Martin. Play that sound one more time. I want to hear him. Listen to the part where he strategically like gets kind of confrontational with the media reporter.
Special teams, lost your kicker. Carter McLaughlin.
He's at. We didn't lose him. He's at Alabama. We know
Yeah, I
exactly.
understand
We know exactly
that.
where he's at. Like you media people, it's all pretend. Like no, Alabama stole our kicker.
Yes, they did.
They illegally recruited
Why
our.
do you want to say it,
They
Coach?
illegally recruited our kicker and stole him from us. And like that's a fact. But but we act like it's not. We live in this la la world. Like hey, let's not talk. I don't know why everybody knows what's going on. So yeah, Alabama stole our kicker. A couple other schools tried to steal it, but then they okay. What's the question?
What do you say fuck me for?
It's also crazy that they had B-roll of the kicker.
That's not.
That's the new
That's
kicker.
the new kicker. Okay.
That's new kicker.
It's the new kicker. And
Bro,
he looks
if you
like
have an
he's making-
All-American at Miami of Ohio, it doesn't matter who it is. If
He
it's
gone.
a freaking long snapper,
he gone.
you get some B-roll of him, though. You're going to have some highlight footage on strap.
All right, so this is obviously not fun for Miami of Ohio. This is actually, I love this. I hope this happens more. I hope he brings the receipts forefront because now we have a denial from Kalen DeBoer, right? He was asked about this after practice today. Play this sound for the audience.
Our clip is not working.
Before we get started, the Miami of Ohio coach accused you guys of tampering with the recruitment of Graham Nicholson. Do you have a response to that?
I don't know anything about that, I guess, that comment. I mean, he entered the portal and we reached out to him. So that's how it goes, right? So we did everything that we were supposed to.
He should have said that.
It reminded me of the Kevin Hart skit where he's down by the pool looking at the girls in the bikini. And a girl comes down and is like, what are you doing? He's like, I was just eating the chips. The guy entered the portal. We just called him. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, we didn't
I don't even know if Kalen DeBoer knows that there's a Miami in Ohio.
Yeah,
That's what he should have left. He was like, wait, hang on, guys.
There's a Miami in Ohio?
You mean to tell me the state of Ohio has a Miami too?
They have a football team?
I thought Miami's kicker was like 85 years old.
Yeah, we didn't.
Oh, you're talking about the Red Hawks. I thought you were talking about Hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean,
You're talking about Snow Patrol. You're talking about Snow Dogs, the movie. This is Snow Patrol, the band.
Go to 2000s, man.
Oh my gosh.
What I mean, you have to deny in that situation.
Yeah,
right?
I
On the board.
mean, you can't do anything.
Yeah,
else.
like, and there's not going to be an investigation on this. They're not going to do big upheaval because of a kicker. So, I mean,
unless Miami of Ohio's head coach comes out with the receipts. I want screenshots of DMs.
And if so, boy, your first impression at Alabama is the fact that you cheated to get a kicker.
We got sanctions for
Miami.
cheating to get a kicker from Miami of Ohio.
Ooh,
That would be rough.
at least he's an All-American.
On top of the Caden Proctor stuff. What if they run the receipts on that? That dude had committed to Alabama before he even entered the portal the second time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
We do
crazy
have time.
how the Kalen DeBoer thing could be over before it started.
It's not.
It's not going to be. I mean, no, this
kicker that
this
nobody
is
cares about. It's just funny because we got to play the Miami of Ohio soundbite. You have a fun stat you did some research on today, and I actually want to bring it to the show because it's fun.
Yeah, so I went back today and I looked at all of the teams that were ranked in the preseason AP poll top 5, and I wanted to see how many of those teams made the college football playoff in the 14 format. So this goes all the way back to 2014. And every single year, except for 2019, there was one team in the top 5 that was outside of the top 10 at the end of the year. So that would essentially still mean they missed the 12-team playoff almost, in my opinion. Kind of like they're in that range of you don't even make the 12-team. Nailed it.
Zen's easier to catch than Rogues.
Interesting.
More aerodynamic.
So then what I also want to do is find out why these teams fell out of the top 10. What about them was so bad that made them fall out of the top 10 rankings throughout the season. And I can tell you between every single team that was outside the top 10 at the end of the year, they were all bad at least one thing between points per game and points allowed, except for 2022.
Right, so go through these, and I'm going to try to guess which one of the sides of the football that team was terrible at.
We'll start with the easy one. LSU last year.
LSU last year, bad at defense.
Yeah, first in offense for points per game, 81st on defense. 2022, it was Clemson and Notre Dame. They were just mid at both.
Okay.
Both of them were just mid at both things. They weren't great at either one of those things.
Range on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. 2021 Clemson.
Bad at offense.
They were 82nd on offense, second on defense.
Yeah, stacked on the defense side of football.
2020 LSU.
They were bad on defense, but it was situationally based. I think they gave up 27 points per game.
Yeah, they were 97th on defense.
Yeah, but they were like
they that good on offense?
They were
39th.
Buddy, they had teams taking like 80 snaps a game.
Yeah,
because they were scoring so goddamn quickly on the offensive side of the football. LSU's defensive football team that year had like 8 NFL football players on it.
Yeah.
Like 8 or 9. They were really, really good across the board on paper. The problem was the opponents were getting so many cracks at it because offensively they were scoring so fast.
Yeah, they averaged 32 points per game that year. 2019, nobody from the top 5 ended outside of the top 10 that year. 2018, it was Wisconsin.
Bad at offense.
Yeah, they were 62nd for points per game, 29.7 that year.
I played them last night. Someone was using them online. Holy hell, I got my ass boxed.
Tyler Van Dyke did you up?
I don't even know who the quarterback was. I wasn't even paying attention to that. It was all air raid. Dude was in empty the whole night. I couldn't stop him.
Really?
Interesting.
Swear to God. Couldn't get into. Every time I got into man, he was hitting crossers. Every time I played zone, he was just screwing me up. Go ahead.
Funny how some things never changed. 2017 USC.
Bad at defense.
Yeah, bad at defense. They were 60th.
They were inside the top.
They were inside the top 5
That
at the
must have
beginning
been
of the
year my guy crawled out the tunnel as a dog against Bama.
Or the year after,
maybe the year after.
Yeah. 2016 LSU.
2016 LSU.
Bad at offense.
Yeah, 28.3 points per game, 68th. They had the 5th best
that was
defense.
That was the year Les Miles got fired.
2015 Baylor.
What was Les Miles famous for? Other than the reports.
He was Mad Hatter doing trick plays.
No. I think he's more famous for something else.
What?
When you think of Les Miles, what do you think of?
The fake punt versus Florida.
Trick plays.
I think of the grass eater.
Oh.
Yeah. I think of more trick plays.
See, chat was with me eating grass.
2015 Baylor.
Bad at defense.
78th in the country.
Bryce Petty was a dot.
But they were first in offense that year. They averaged 48.1
Bryce Petty
points
was
per game.
Dot.
He was, dude.
And then 2014
Bad
Oklahoma.
at offense. No, bad at defense.
They're bad at defense. 55th
Really?
in the country for points allowed. They were 21st on offense, so not great, but they averaged 36.4 points per game. So
you know what? That was the Baker year, wasn't it?
2014?
No.
Baker started in.
That would have been.
I don't even know who. Knight?
Whoever was after Sam Bradford. That's considerably after Sam Bradford. But there was a time there in the Stoopsy era where they were just winning with running back play and defense.
Baker's first year was 2016.
Yeah, I was right. It's Trevor Knight.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Forgot
Good
about
old Trevor Knight.
Good callback. But yeah, so of that, who do you think this year could you see being really, really bad at one thing, whether it's offense or defense?
Florida State bad at offense.
Are they top
10th ranked,
Are
right?
they top 5 team?
Yeah, this is top five.
Oh, I'm going to have to go look at that.
So this is
Give
Georgia,
me Texas. Give me Texas.
Oregon, Alabama, and who's fifth? The other team?
Oh, yeah. Give me Texas bad at defense.
Ole Miss.
I'll take Texas bad at defense because, yeah, you've got a great offense. Yeah, Quinn Ewers is returning. Yeah, you've got some offensive firepower. But you lost a lot of ability to stop the running defensive line, and your secondary did not look like it got any better from it did last season, if the spring game is any indication. So
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I think Texas definitely has the ability to be really bad on defense this year, bad enough to where it keeps them out of the top 10. I think a lot of people also pick Alabama just because of the schedule. They could see them losing enough games to where they are outside of the top 10 at the end of the year. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that to the table, get a discussion.
Appreciate you, my boy.
Always.
Solid hour right there from us. We got a whole another hour coming up right now.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grab some tape.
Unless it's too hard.
All right, we're good.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Back for another hour. I want to start tonight's local hour with a shout out to our friends over at Betr. Betr now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can now play in 23 states, including Georgia. Betr is matching first-time deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks or click the link in the description of this video today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you through a lineup today and take you through a play, and we're going to make a play together here on behalf of Betr. Again, if you use promo code Brooks, you'll get a 100% deposit match over there on Betr today. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is the home page right now. You guys are looking at my phone screen, okay? We're going to go to college football games right here. We're going to go straight into projections. Now, this 185 for Haynes King, or excuse me, 188.5 on passing yards. Ooh. Buddy, this was a guy who averaged, I think, over 220 yards per game last year. I think that's an easy lock right there. I like that one a lot. Now, Nevada versus SMU. Nevada, I think 30-point dog in that football game.
Yeah, big time dog.
Big time dog.
You think their quarterback throws for more than 140 yards? 141.5 to be exact.
I don't know enough about Nevada football to make an accurate guess, but I would say just by the point spread.
They sometimes have some good QBs out there.
I would say just based on the point spread, stay away from anything over on Nevada.
All right, I'm not playing an under on -1 or 141.5. All right, let's go to rushing yards, see if we find a winner here. Haynes King 41.5. That's a lot.
That is a lot of rushing yards,
especially including sacks. Let's take the under.
I mean, you're basically saying he's going to rush for 70 yards that game.
All right, so you can't take two on the one guy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep current pick. All right, we're going to take another one. 20.5 rushing yards on DJU. I think they're going to be required to use him a little bit.
They are, but you're also going to have to worry about sacks.
Well, Mike Norvell historically has been using the quarterback.
That man, 250 pounds, though.
You're right.
I don't think he's fast enough to get that.
All right, what do you like here? Let's go under.
Yeah, I'm with the under on that.
I like fading quarterback rushing yards because of the sacks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go perfect play. And we got 100 in the account. We're going to put 25 on this. I like that. Play Century. Dunzo, just like that.
So
all right,
easy.
Head over to Betr today. Use promo code Brooks. Get a 100% deposit match. Ooh, I'm dying.
We all are, slowly and surely.
You gonna feel why I'm dying, or you gonna watch me die?
I was talking about people. We die every day.
He's hostile now, dude.
No help from the kids.
Well, you want me to go over there and do CPR on you? Bro?
No, I want you to fill air while your man's over here choking on a Zen.
I was literally just saying, we all die eventually.
First time.
The earth reclaims us all, brother.
Oh, ooh, that was tough. Hey, we got a great local hour for you guys tonight. We are going to be talking about another positional battle preview. Last offseason show of the year. We got college football this weekend. Favorite thing of the offseason? Clemson's new approach 20 dogs made the Senior Bowl watch list. We'll talk about that tonight. Most confident take, and I want to remind you guys today, we do indeed have a live show coming to you guys September 7th, live from Creature Comfort in Athens. Holy smokes. Preview the positional preview. I got to catch my breath here.
All right, so we've done several positions already between the positional preview for Georgia and Clemson, and we give you the preview of it every time, and we're going to break it down again. We do positional previews a little differently than everybody else. On Twitter, you always see Georgia QB versus Clemson QB. Georgia has the edge. We don't do it that way. We do it based on matchups. So, in other words, we're going to do wide receiver tonight for both teams, and it would be Georgia's wide receivers versus Clemson's defensive backs. How do we like the matchup? We're going to grade it from A+ all the way down to F-, I believe, if you feel that type of way. And so we're going to start with Georgia. Christian, what do you grade Georgia's wide receivers against Clemson's defensive backs?
So I graded this as a B+.
Start out with Georgia's wide receivers.
Yeah, just the overall grade.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to
The overall grade.
I gave Georgia a B+ in this aspect. We keep talking about, we keep hearing about how this is likely the best wide receiver room that Georgia has had under Kirby Smart. And while I think that's very true, it's still an unproven commodity. There's still a lot of questions there. There might be some players that get injured throughout the season, so you don't know what that depth looks like. So it's a solid group. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's an A group just yet. It very well could be at the end of the season. And I think it will probably be that. But where it stands right now, I have it as a B+.
Yeah, see, I went straight B for this group heading into week one because there are still some questions about it. It hasn't yet been proven. You have a couple of guys that have proven themselves already. Like I would say Dylan Bell late last season, he proved himself to be a viable option in the offense. Dominic Lovett is a proven option. Other than that, you're still kind of waiting and seeing a little bit. So I just put it as a B right now. Going into week one, you feel good about it. Maybe you don't feel great just yet.
I gave it a B right now. I think this would have been a B+ had, the Ra Thomas thing not happened. I think it would have been an A- had the Ra Thomas thing not happened and Colby Young had been fully healthy during the spring and the fall.
Yeah.
During the spring, I think it was an ankle, and during the fall, it's been a hamstring. And this is a football player who Georgia now needs to play as early as possible, or at least get into the lineup as early as possible. And he's been hobbled by injury. Until they prove they have a dude, I'm going to leave it as a B- right now.
A B-?
Or a B, a flat
gotcha.
B. Let's go to Clemson's roster or room before we get into the matchups.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I gave Clemson a B-. I don't think it's a bad wide receiver room by any means. I think they do have some viable options that Cade Klubnik can go to. I think they do have some built-in chemistry Cade Klubnik does with that wide receiver group. And so I don't think it's bad enough to where I think it's like close to failing or anything like that. But I think a B- is at a minus because I do have questions about their ability to get separation and be consistent options across the span of a football game. So I have questions and concerns about them being consistent in that area.
We got a Clemson fan in the chat. He's about to hate me. I gave it a C-. I really like Antonio Williams. I like the two young wide receivers in Wesco and Moore, the two true freshmen. I don't love Adam Randall, and I don't love what they're doing at their outside receivers predominantly. Troy Stellato is another version of this. Troy Stellato was really, really fast in high school. He had a knee injury in college. He's bulked up even more. I think he's playing at like 210 right now. The Adam Randall kid plays at he's like 230. I think he's really, really big. Those two guys have a real problem separating. And if you have a problem separating, and I know Clemson's got really, really good young corners. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But if you got problems separating against Clemson, I'm projecting you to have problems separating against these guys here. I do love Antonio Williams. I do love Tyler Brown. I like some of their options. I just think as a whole, in totality, I think the room's going to struggle with separation.
Yeah, I put it at a C+ just because for everything we talk about how Georgia's room is probably the best it's been, this is far from probably the best wide receiver room Clemson's had. I mean, you think back to some of the wide receiver talent Clemson's had during the Dabo Swinney era. This is not we all think Antonio Williams is really good, but other than that, there's a lot of questions whether these guys can create separation, can make contested catches, can make things easier for Cade Klubnik at the quarterback position. So it's not an awful room. It's not, holy shit, this is a disaster, but I don't think you can confidently say this is a really good room we have.
All right, let's get into the matchups. How did you guys grade it?
Georgia versus Clemson, I gave it a B+. Clemson has always had good defensive backs. They've always siphoned in and rotated in really good defensive backs, so that's why I kept it at the B level. But I also think quarterback play plays a role in the wide receiver matchups for these football teams. And Carson Beck is going to be able to put a ball essentially wherever he wants it. I think that plays a role in this. I don't expect Georgia's wide receivers to just light the world on fire necessarily in this football game, but I think they're going to be good enough to keep the sticks moving and have a successful game against a young Clemson defensive back room.
We'll stay in the order that we were in. I did have a B- for the matchup. I'm going to give it a C+, because the more and more I think about it, I really do like the young corners from Clemson. Ironically, they're both happen to be from the state of Georgia. Avion Terrell and Shelton Lewis, I believe, are the two that are going to start in this football game. Both already have experience. They played last year as true freshmen. Both are extremely, extremely competitive. Avion Terrell is a freaking pit bull. I like AJ Terrell. I really do. I love Avion Terrell. And I never thought he was going to be this. He did not get any, he got some of them. He did not get a fraction of the Lord's blessings that his older brother got. But holy shit, if he ain't a dog. I mean, I love watching Avion Terrell play football. And I think he's going to really, really compete in this football game. I know Shelton Lewis was banged up during fall camp. I have it on good authority. I think he's going to be okay in that ball game to start the football game against Georgia. But I think, it's not just those two guys. I really like Khalil Barnes as well back there at the nickel spot. I like what Clemson has in terms of defensive backs. What I don't love is that they put these guys on islands consistently and make them survive out there and swim with their head above water.
Yeah, I gave this a B for Georgia's matchup simply because of the scheme that Clemson runs. Clemson has talented enough DBs to run with Georgia's wide receivers. I would give Georgia the talent edge a little bit, but the scheme doesn't really do them any favors. Georgia's going to be able to hopefully pick apart some man concepts. Clemson likes to bring 5, sometimes 6 in pressure. That's going to leave a lot of space for your DBs to have to cover. So I like the idea that Carson Beck is going to be able to, at some point, be able to diagnose what they're doing and start picking this defense apart.
I forgot a portion of my analysis. I remember listening to Mike Bobo talk 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
2 weeks ago, he was asked about Dylan and like areas of improvement that Dylan needed to make. And he talked about how Dylan struggles to beat man coverage. And if you're going to be a dominant X in this conference and in this league, you're going to have to beat man coverage because teams will play man coverage, especially at bump and run, particularly into the boundary against X receivers like what Dylan is playing. This team's going to run more bump and run than anybody. They bump and run to the field.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't necessarily like, hey, first game out of the box, we're going to have to play 2 really, really scrappy corners who are going to be in our face. And your offensive coordinator has told you that's something he has deemed or identified as an area of concern or a problem area for Dylan, something that they've challenged him to improve upon. So he's going to get a really good test to start the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the matchup for Georgia or for Clemson against Georgia's defensive backs. How do you take it?
I went C-. I think this is. I think Georgia has the ability to be the best and most talented secondary in all of college football if they hit their ceiling this year. I mean, when you've got 2 NFL guys that you're trying to decide who's going to start this season for you, I mean that's a good problem to have. And then they have another 5-star waiting behind them, and then Malachi Starks, arguably the best safety in all of college football, returning starter in Dalen Everett. Really, the only thought and question mark there is how's Jonah Aguero going to play this year? And it sounds like he is going to be good for them this year. I just think that based off of what Georgia has in the secondary and somewhat of what Clemson lacks in the wide receiver room, I think it's a really good matchup for Georgia secondary.
Most teams run RPO slants, right? Get an RPO action. We get the slant from the slot. We're reading the overhang defender. If he squeezes into the box, adds into the run count, we're pulling it, we're hitting the slant. Clemson's RPO and Garrett Riley's RPO is more of a go ball, back shoulder fade with the inside zone off of it. So we're going to read the inside zone, but pre-snap, if we like the numbers, if they don't have safety help, if the box is over counted, we're going to throw that go ball / back shoulder fade. So it's really we have the run count, we like it, or we don't have the run count, we don't like it. Now we have the one-on-one opportunity on the outside. Here's what I noticed during their spring game. Go back and watch that. Watch all of their RPOs. Cade Klubnik actually threw a pick on one of them because the wide receiver thought he was going to go, and Cade thought he was going to throw back shoulder, so he throws the back shoulder. Shelton Lewis squats on it, picks it off. I'm telling you this to tell you, I don't see a day where these Clemson wide receivers, particularly the Randall kid, particularly the Stellato kid, I don't see a day where those two guys are getting on top of Georgia corners. I see a game on Saturday next week where Clemson off RPO action is going to have to throw nothing but back shoulder fades. And I just don't know if that's sustained success from an explosive standpoint, right? So we're taking out part of our RPO game, or at least deeming it ineffective pregame, I think. So for that reason, I gave the matchup a C-. I just don't see a lot of separation. Even against their own unit, when they wanted to design like winners, like man-man beaters, they were going to Antonio Williams, which as a defense if I'm Georgia, I'm just going to tell Malachi or tell the safety on that side of the field, hey, I don't care if you make a play at plus 12 in the run game, but what we're not going to do is allow Antonio Williams to go over the top of us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave it a C for similar reasons for you. The only reason why I bumped it up is because we all are pretty confident that Georgia's defensive backroom is going to be very, very good this year. We aren't certain of it. There's a lot of question marks there. Not eyebrow raising like, ooh, this is scary, but hey, who's this going to be like?
Yeah, just need proof of concept.
Yeah, you need proof of concept. You don't know what Joe Aguero is going to be. You don't know who the opposite starting corner is going to be. Hell, you don't even really know how good Dalen Everett's going to be as that main corner that is not opposite of a Kamari Lassiter. So there's questions in the defensive backroom that I think give Clemson some advantage, but it very well could be that this is just a room full of killers and Clemson's not going to get any separation the entire day.
Honestly, going into this, I thought it was going to be a little bit more lopsided than it ended up being. I have B, B minus, C minus, C minus. Yeah. So it's not that drastic of an advantage one way or the other. Not like what we felt like there is in the defensive line matchup where both defensive lines are really, really good. One of those defensive lines playing a really bad offensive line. Yeah. At least we think Clemson's offensive line is not very good.
Or even the quarterback matchup where one guy's about a potential first overall pick, the other one still don't really know what you are.
Yeah. One's an A minus, the other one's a B minus. With upside. Yeah. Just in a vacuum. And that's how we do it. I know Jay Will did a good little synopsis of how we do positional previews. I've always hated the way most people do these. Hey, offensive line check here, defensive line check here. They don't play one another. Okay, so evaluate them in a vacuum and then evaluate the individual matchups that they have across from the football.
What would it take for Clemson's wide receiver room to quote unquote have a better day than Georgia's, you think?
Wesco to be an immediate freak. The Moore kid to be an immediate freak. I think Wesco showed signs in the spring game where it's like, oh, wow, this might be one of their scariest weapons. The problem is the Moore kid, the kid that led the team in receptions last year, Tyler Brown, Antonio Williams, the Wesco kid, they're spitting images of one another. Mm-hmm. They're 5'11", 180 pounds, twitchy, can run, high point the football a little bit. But there is no Justin Ross on this roster. Yeah, no. There's no T. Higgins on this roster. There's no guaranteed he's going to play X on Sundays guy on this roster. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think the biggest thing for Georgia on the other side is going to be beating press man coverage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're Georgia's defense, how concerned are you about getting penalties in 50-50 balls? Because you saw this kind of in 2021 where Clemson's offense
Keely Ringo was panicking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to have guys that are making their first starts as defensive backs for Georgia. You can probably take advantage of a couple of deep shots where, hey, let's just throw up the 50-50 ball. If it's incomplete, okay, whatever. We might get a catch, but we could also get a PI 15 yards for free. Like, how much do you think Clemson plans that in their game plan?
The 50-50 balls of just trying to bail. I don't think it's part of the game plan. I think the RPO in general is in the game plan. And whether or not we're dependent upon it, I guess, becomes based on outcomes. Mm. I'm being corrected here. TJ Moore is 6'3". The reason I don't know that, he didn't play in the spring game. Mm. So, or don't recall that. I recall the Wesco kid being like the others.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have a Clemson fan in here to check us tonight.
For sure.
That's clutch.
Thank you,
we need
Eric
more
Watkins.
of them.
Absolutely. Say what?
Thank you, Eric Watkins.
Yeah, shout out to Eric
Bring
Watkins.
your buddies next week.
For real.
Bring your buddies next week.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be at home, covering from home. Yeah. I'll be there. So if you want to come tell me my analysis is shit in person, feel free to do so. Any other thoughts on this positional preview?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. You look like you had some?
I'm trying to think of how to ask this question of what?
It's getting corrected left and right on heights. Brian Wesco 6'2", by the way. Okay.
Oh, I thought you were rolling your eyes at me. I was like, damn. Geez.
No.
What does the ideal outlook for the Georgia offense look like in this game, in your opinion? From the receiver standpoint, at least.
Oh, from a receiver standpoint? Have somebody close to 100 yards and have somebody that can win at X. Those are the only two things. Is Dominic Lovett what I think he is? Which I think Dominic Lovett is 8 to 10 receptions per game, 95 yards.
How much do you see the running backs getting involved in the passing game in this? Because you have to imagine if they're going to be running man pressures.
Is Etienne suspended?
I don't know.
Should I address that?
That's...
All right, never mind.
I think we should wait a little more.
Yeah, I've said everything I need to say on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. So if you want to know, head over there. You can get it. I don't mean to tease you on that, but it is what it is. It is the official end of the offseason, boys.
Thank God.
Praise
This is our last
It's
show
over with.
without having a college football game to react to.
Get me bricked.
Until,
Man, I can't wait to react to that Delaware State Hawaii game.
dude,
Boy,
bro, it's football.
that shit gonna be hot.
I will take it. It's football.
All right. Favorite moments of the offseason. I have a top 5. What do you got?
I've got a top 3.
Oh, what do you got, Jay Will? You just got a singular moment?
No, I got 3, I think.
All right, so let's go with y'all's
How many
top
OLIs do you have?
threes. Oh, none.
Really?
None. Just a strict, solid, hard count 5.
That's
All right,
kind of
mine's
surprising.
nice and simple. First one I have, the story about Kirby giving crap to media members at practice for with having their notepads out, writing down the depth chart.
Who's the starter?
That's just, I just love that so much. It makes me happy inside thinking about that happening. Number 2, no quarterback controversy this offseason.
Yeah.
Carson Beck was, I know last year people would say there was no controversy last year either. There was people pitching for Brock Vandagriff to potentially be the starter. And then even Stetson Bennett coming back after winning a national title, there were people that would tell you Carson Beck should be the starter that year.
The clicks would have appreciated it. Not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We could have
what?
manufactured
For my sanctity, for my Twitter timeline, and for everything else, I'm glad that there was no quarterback controversy this year. And then the last one, I got married. I think that's
Hell
number one
yeah.
on the list. Pretty big moment.
A straight debaucherous-filled wedding reception as
Big
well.
dub
Isn't
wedding.
that how they're supposed to be?
Nah, this was debauchery on another level.
Man, what?
I'm telling you, that's how weddings should be, dude.
It was
All right.
fun. I had a good time. It was
good
everything
time.
that I wanted it to be.
Would
so-
you rather be like, dude, that wedding was insane, then you came back and was like, yeah, they got married and then they played Cupid Shuffle and I went home.
You're right. I am a curmudgeon nowadays as a sober person at these things. So
Good time.
That's on me, bro.
Do you want to go next? You want me to?
No. I think I got the solid 5. What do you
All
got
right.
for me?
So my number 3, because, and I don't know if this was my favorite, but it was a moment that you had seen coming for a long time. You knew it was going to happen one day. And when it did happen, it was kind of like, holy shit, this is it. College football is never going to be the same. Nick Saban retiring was a massive day in my offseason, simply because I remember getting the text about it and thinking like, wow, it's the Saban era of Alabama football is really over. Big moment. I'll always be one of those, you'll always be one of those, where were you when so-and-so happened moments for me. Second, and this is,
I don't think I remember exactly where I was when Nick Saban retired. I do remember the last one of these moments was where I was when Kobe died.
yeah, I was buying a pub sub actually when Kobe died.
I was sitting on my couch in Woodstock going, ain't no way this is real.
Yeah, I was chilling in my basement and I was like, what?
It was honestly kind of funny how I figured it out, because I was in line for a pub sub, and off to the corner of my left, I see a dude holding a half gallon of milk, staring at his phone, going, "Bro, what?" In the middle of Publix. I'm like, damn.
That makes me think.
TMZ broke the news, so I was like, this
Literally
is
just
Yeah.
fell down to my knees in the milk aisle at Publix. You ever see that homie literally did that.
Where was I? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 2. College Football 25 getting released. I mean, this was 14 years in the making. Having actual football video games that were new to go and play to kind of get you through the offseason. I think we can say this. We all agreed that this felt like one of the shorter off seasons we've had as fans and media members. I think that video game had a lot to do with it.
hell yeah.
And then this is kind of an interesting one, because it wasn't technically the offseason, but it was if you were a Georgia football beat member. Actually getting to watch the Natty as a college football fan, sit down and enjoy the national championship game as just a viewer of football. Now, I would have obviously taken it the other way to actually have Georgia there and have to cover them and get all those things ready. But being able to say, you know what, I don't have to worry about pre-show coverage for this or halftime articles. I can just sit here and watch a football game, watch the biggest college football game of the season. I really enjoyed that.
Mr. Spin Zone. We didn't need to watch a Natty this year. Right
Yeah,
here.
Mr.
do you
Spin
mean?
Zone. I didn't get to cover it, Natty. I got
You know
to
what?
watch one.
I'm glad that I was just watching as a casual fan for the national championship.
But I do remember sitting there thinking, like, you know what, this is kind of nice. I miss this field.
Moving the goalposts.
No, I would have much rather gotten to watch Georgia in a Natty and work during it. But you're king of moving the goalpost.
Top 5 favorite moments of the college football offseason. Number 5, the Elite 11. It's my favorite event every year. It had to make the list. Very special to me. This year, It was all right. It was okay. I still enjoyed it thoroughly. Got sunburnt. Got shout out to Hotel Hermosa. Got shut down by security day 1. Day 2, they were like, we would love to have you. Matter of fact, will you give us an ad read? And I was like, it ain't free. Just kidding. It was. Give me a free stay next year. Maybe. Might. I don't know. Number 5, definitely the Little Evan. Number 4, your boy's first Paul Feinbaum appearance. I enjoyed that this offseason.
Yeah.
Had a crispy ass suit on and got an invite to come back. Whether or not I'm going to hold him true to that, I don't know. Paul, definitely am. Number 3, I hit Mike Tomlin with a bathroom door in Indianapolis.
I was here for
This is your top 5.
This is top 5. This is a great moment. I was going into the pisser and hit Mike Tomlin with the door and said, oh, my bad.
You hit him with the door and I peed next to him.
Yeah.
Crazy
times. It was a great moment.
Weird.
No context needed.
We do not care.
The best way I could have explained that interaction is if you're in the room with like a lion or a bear.
Yeah.
You don't want to acknowledge that it's there because it's like, shit, it may notice that I know. But you also like, it's right there. That's crazy.
I would compare being near a bear very similar, or a lion, very similar to the interaction of hitting a famous person in a pisser. Where you hit him with the door and you definitely don't want to make eye contact. And you definitely don't want him to know that you know that he is who he is.
Yeah.
And you just kind of want to play it cool.
Yeah, that swing of emotions of, oh man, I'm sorry, like, oh my gosh, you're Mike Tomlin.
Can't do that.
You can't do it.
Can't
Not
do
in
that.
the bathroom especially.
Can't do that. Eyes down, immediately go take your piss.
Yeah, the funniest part was I was behind you walking in. I remember from the door you could hear him talking. I was like, damn, that's a loud voice.
That's Mike T.
No, I was just like, that's a really loud voice. Like you could hear the bass.
He's in there pissing.
And you open the door and hit him with it, and you kind of do the double take like, oh shit. And I had to walk by him as he was talking, because he was talking to someone in the bathroom.
Oh, booming voice on Mike T.
Very loud.
Yeah.
So then he goes over to the stall next to me. I'm like, oh shit, like, just look forward.
I do have to say that we do not care. That's the best, one of the best type of things you've done in a while on this show. Number 2, the spring tour.
Mid, huh?
Always love my spring tour. Oh, what?
Nothing. Just go.
I took it as an insult.
I mean, it was good timing, dude.
said,
We
damn,
do not care. The spring tour, man. And I got to tell you, the spring tour, always fun, always a good time for me. This year was really, really fun. And I think the highlight of the spring tour for me was finding a way to talk myself out of a speeding ticket in which, gentlemen, I was going 18 miles per hour over with no proof of driver's license and no proof of insurance on me, and walked away. Just drove right away. Thank you, sir. Slow it down a little bit. Make sure you're not speeding anymore.
You are really exposing yourself right here.
Why?
You're just telling everybody about your. I don't know. I just think that.
I think that's something to brag about. I got out of an 18 mile an hour over.
Brooks thinks breaking the laws are cool.
I think I was, what was that, 63 and a 45. 63 and a 45, no license, no proof of insurance. All I did was smile and say, hey, baby. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. Just
Something's the best thing to do is just be polite. Be a good
that's
human.
all I did.
Yeah.
She was like, what are you doing down here? I said, I work for Sports Illustrated, director of recruiting, drive in between Camden and Valdosta, and just, switching up and down with me on the speed limits. And I kind of got caught up, and here we are. And she said, slow down for me. I said, thank you, ma'am. Just drove right on.
Good job.
She was sneaky though. Was in one of them trucks that didn't have the roll lights on the top. So I kind of did one of those, and she was like, whoop whoop.
Sounds
right
like
behind me.
It's like the equivalent of when you see like old restored cop cars that are no longer cop cars, but they still got the mirror on the mirror.
Yeah, screw those guys.
And they got the guardrail and everything. And it's like, oh, is that a cop? It's like, nope, just some dude that owns an old cop
Except
car.
for this one still had the blue lights on it, and she got me.
Culture problem at the Film Guy Network.
Absolutely. So number 2, spring tour, talking myself out of a speeding ticket. Number 1, favorite moment of the offseason, the conclusion of it.
Captain Easy stands over here.
Yeah, water, yeah.
Water's wet.
Water's
What you
wet.
about to say?
Yeah, that's a real water's wet type take from you. Even though I don't think
Thanks for
wet.
telling me Carson Beck's a starter.
Yeah. My favorite part about the offseason is that it ended. Look at me. I'm thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I like it though. I like that
is
because
good, though.
I mean, we were not privy to this story about you talking yourself out of a speeding ticket. So you were holding on to that one for a while.
I didn't talk myself out of the ticket in Athens I got last year, or the parking ticket that I got in Athens yesterday.
Welcome to Athens.
Man, the ops trying to keep me down. Crazy.
No comment.
No comment.
Any other favorite moments? I know you already went through y'all's. Anything we're missing?
We're missing the Aaron Murray versus Brooks Austin quarterback.
That should have made the top 5.
That
What a
would have made
fancy that
everyone's
guy
top
is, huh?
5. But
Someone was saying that they think there's a plot twist and that you've lost. You're just not talking about it.
Buddy, I have nothing to lose in that matchup. Nothing. The biggest fear I had when we agreed upon this in December was that I was going to look fat on camera. Dead ass. Because out here, when I'm behind the desk, I get to hide my belly. But guess who ain't got much of a belly no more? This guy.
That's right.
So I'm going to be excited about doing this. I have no fears. I ain't even been throwing the ball lately. Last time I threw the football was with you,
yeah.
and I hadn't thrown prior to that for 2 or 3 weeks. How did it come out that day?
That was good. I'll add that to my top 5. The expanding of this, especially like graduating college, I guess would be in the list as well. But also
that
now,
should
like,
definitely been in my top 5.
Definitely should've been in the
graduating
top 5.
from the University of Georgia definitely made the top 5. But also like getting to be here every day now, and like this is what I just focus on every day. Like that's just what I do. I love that. I don't have to worry about school no more. I ain't here to do school. I'm here for the film guy.
I still have to worry about school, but it's all good.
Hey, one of these days.
We'll get there. One more year.
Hopefully we can band up a couple more times before next year, so we can make sure you guys are doing well,
No doubt,
and you're living well. I'm glad that it's expanded too. I'm glad that it continues to grow. I'm glad that people keep subscribing. I'm glad that we have new sponsors. I'm glad that I'm very thankful that not only do we have new sponsors, we have new people watching us. Very important people watching us. That maybe one day might get affiliated with us. So super excited about that. Also super excited about wearing that 2% Chooch shirt everywhere I go, because people look at me and go, 2% Cooch, what's that mean?
What does it mean?
I got a Chooch on me. A Chooch, another word for an absolute cannon, a rocket attached to one shoulder, a Chooch. Okay, on a scale of a percentage scale. Okay, I'm not a top 1% Chooch. Don't have it. Okay, those are reserved for Pat Mahomes. Those are reserved for Josh Allen. Those are reserved for Brett Favre, Aaron Murray. Not Aaron Murray. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers.
Uh-oh.
Okay?
There you go.
2% chooches, those are reserved for people like me who can just absolutely sling the pill out the rock, or sling the shit out the rock. But not quite in that 1%. I have a 2% chooch.
I thought it was more like
Aaron Murray, choochless. The choochless
Not a
boy
2%er.
wonder. Not even a 2%er. Choochless. Doesn't even possess one.
If this ever
Noodle
fails
arm.
for you could really cut a good WWE promo if you wanted to.
Buddy, look, here's the crazy thing. I don't even think I'm outlandish about this. Like when this first came out, everybody was like, Brooks is an idiot. Like, no way. And guess what? Man's just been ducking me left or right. And he ain't even seen me throw the football. Wait until he does. He's going to shit his pants.
Chat got you.
What'd they say?
100% couch. To be fair, it'd be only 98 since the other 2 is dedicated to the
chooch.
A little hey yo in there.
Yeah.
Jeremiah said, I felt the heaviness of Brooks's balls. It's nuts.
Hey.
It's crazy.
All righty.
By that, dude.
Hey yo.
Clemson's taking a new approach.
I was about to transition.
I could read your mind.
Clemson's taking a new approach.
So for as long as we've known the Dabo Swinney and Clemson football program, and they've been competing in high-level games, Dabo Swinney has always kind of adopted this mantra that his team is the quote-unquote underdog. I don't remember what it was, but it was during some playoff game where he said the story of, I kind of see us as Rocky and we're going to fight Ivan Drago. He goes, I'm a big 80s fan, guys. So
Wait a minute. I thought Drago was the underdog.
Oh,
I'm leaning in.
I was about to say
It's
no.
a joke.
No.
That'll hit in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so but now it seems like they've kind of adopted a new mindset of not being the underdog anymore, despite being a near 2-touchdown underdog in this game. I don't remember the player that it was exactly, his specific name, but he refused to admit that Clemson was an underdog in this.
It was Jake Brenningstool. He's a tight end for Clemson. Brenningstool.
He's 1 G away from his name being Brenningstool.
I thought it was Bringing Stool, and then I had to go back and change it in the article when it was Brenningstool.
Bringing Stool would be an unfortunate name.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
It would be.
So Mance thinks they're the favorite.
He said, we are laying low right now. We're not the underdog. We're laying low.
We're just laying
right
Oh,
now.
I like this.
Yeah.
Snakes in the grass.
Yeah.
Seems that way. But it's a vastly different approach than what we've seen before, where in times Clemson was favored to beat teams, and Dabo would say, we're just little Clemson fighting the good fight. We're the underdogs here. We're Rocky trying to beat down the big bad Ivan Drago. And now it seems like Clemson's not even acknowledging the fact that they're underdogs. They don't want to. It's more like, hey, go ahead and doubt us. We'll see. So
I think I just would have. Again, this is one of these quotes where it might be this mindset that the team is carrying, but you delivered it wrong. You did it in the wrong way, and it serves you no good to bring this out into the public. Just like,
do we have context on this? What he was asked?
This was the full quote that I saw.
He was asked about, how does it feel? What's kind of your mindset coming into this game as the underdog?
Well, then he had no answer. He had no other answer than, we don't necessarily feel that way. We're Clemson. We feel like we're confident.
But he said we're not the
underdog. We're not the underdog. He said we're not the underdog.
We don't feel like the underdog. He said we are not the underdog.
He could have done a Georgia media training and said, we're really confident in our abilities. We're only going to focus on the things that we can focus on as the University of Clemson. All the other noise doesn't really matter to us. We don't see ourselves as underdogs. We're going to go out and give our best shot on Saturday.
So I was watching. I'm going to bring this up because you're talking about media training and whatnot. I'm going to bring this up. So I was listening to that interview that someone shared in the Discord of Jake Pope. I can't remember the podcast he was on, but to show kind of how inundated Georgia football players are with just Georgia football, Jake Pope got asked about the schedule, and he started answering it as if he didn't know who was on the schedule. He's like, we got Bama. I think we got Ole Miss sometime late this year, and I think we go to Texas as well. But he was like, I think we got Ole Miss this year. Like, these guys don't even know who they have later, or they act like they don't even know who they have on the schedule later in the year.
Interesting from Clemson. Interesting decision. Hope it sees it pays off.
My coach in high school, shout out Kenny Dallas, used to talk about having your horse blinders on. When you put horses, when they're race horses, they got these blinders on, so they can't see what's next to them. They only focus on what's in front of them, and they run their race, is what they call it. Right? So as a football player at the University of Georgia, you are running your race. You ain't worried about nothing else.
Absolutely.
I would imagine everybody else tries to do this. But the true winning organizations figure out a way to ingrain it within their athletes and their football players.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thought process, nonetheless. But I don't think he had an option to say anything other than
And that's usually how these come out because the reporter does a good job of making sure that he's going to get the answer that he wants.
Here's how this. Ask me this question. Here's how a Georgia football player answers this question. Go ahead.
Brooks, you guys are 13.5-point underdogs right now. How does it feel coming into this game knowing that you have such a tall task ahead of you?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't even know anything about that. I mean, we don't look at that kind of stuff. We focus on handling the task in hand. Clemson's a really worthy opponent, and we just got to worry about getting better every day. Thank you.
Perfect. Nailed it.
You sound like somebody that's been to a lot of press conferences.
Should we try this again?
Yeah.
Bait me again on something.
What question? Brooks, what matchup in this game scares you the most as a what's your hypothetical position? A center?
Yeah.
As a center, who are you most excited facing on the Clemson defensive line?
Honestly, Clemson's been known for like really, really good defensive lines for a long time. I mean, I remember watching in high school the guys that they had, like Christian Wilkins and stuff like that. So, like, I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Clemson's defensive line. And, they really haven't taken too many steps back. It's still a high-quality defensive line. When you're playing Clemson, you got to bring your best foot forward. But honestly, it's no different than what we have to face every single day in practice. I truly believe we have one of the best defensive lines in the country. So, I'm not really that worried about it.
This is like ChatGPT.
Brooks, Clemson's known for not going into the transfer portal or really advertising NIL at their program. Do you think that you guys at Georgia, who took in quite a few transfer portal players this offseason, do you think that gives you an edge against an opponent like Clemson who's kind of just pushed it to the side?
I don't think an edge comes from that. I mean, to each their own, how they want to go about building their rosters up to them. I mean, how coach decides he wants to build this roster is up to him as well. I mean, my job is to be the best version of myself that I possibly can be and let the chips fall where they may.
This is literally like ChatGPT, where it's like, what would a Georgia player say if I asked this question?
Last time you guys played Clemson, you got the quarterback in some shaky positions to the point where he threw a pick six. Kay Klubnik, kind of one of these quarterbacks still growing in the game of college football, and might get into some shaky situations because of you guys are so good on defense. How do you view about this matchup against Kay Klubnik?
I mean, to be honest with you, our motto this year is to assume nothing. So we're not taking anything from that previous matchup.
He said it.
That matchup's from 3 years ago. We're a completely different football team. They're a completely different football team. We're going to line it up on Saturday and see who's the best.
Thank you.
And that concludes our mock interview with Books. Notable Georgia football players.
That was good. No stutters.
Nailed it,
Nothing, dude. That was good.
Did they put you through media training?
No, but I've just been sitting in there so daggone
It
long
rubs
that
off
can
on
get
you
it.
for sure.
I mean, you can pick up on it easily, man. It's so easy. 20 Georgia Bulldogs named on the Senior Bowl watch list. Do me a favor, Jay Will. Pull this article that we released, Kirby wrote over on Dogs Daily. Georgia Bulldogs on SI. Pull that up and put it on the board. I want to go over there and talk through just how many of these 20 football players that were named to the Senior Bowl watch list are auto drafts. All right, these are individuals that, looking at it right now, going into this year, you go ahead and insert them into the NFL draft coming up. All right, let me know when we got that pulled. Pulled. So Georgia, more than any other football team in America, is that correct?
No, one short.
Who?
Ohio State had the most, but no, Ole Miss had the most.
Ole Miss had the most. All right, so here is the list. All right, we're going to go through it. Now, these are the automatic draftable football players, and the good news is here, they already have the draft-eligible juniors on this list. So I see Michael, I see Malachi Starks already on this watch list. So automatic drafted, right? Carson Beck, automatically drafted. We're going to put a check right there, right?
Correct.
All right, Dylan Bell, I don't know yet because he's still got a year of eligibility and he's only got 450 yards on a singular season. He's got to have a great year this year, despite the fact that he's already on NFL boards just based off what he does at practice at the University of Georgia. Oscar Delps, is he auto-drafted this year?
He's auto-drafted.
You think he's auto-drafted?
I think the tight end sample size in college football is not big enough, and he's on top 3 of everyone's boards already. So if he just has a similar season to what he did last year, he'll be drafted.
I think Dylan Fairchild's a top 2 guard in next year's NFL draft. I think he's an auto draft. I think he's off to the NFL this next year. Dalen Everett, a little bit of a tough one here. Certainly has NFL traits, does not have NFL tape yet, but he's got a year to do so right now as a draftable junior.
I think combination of the traits and tape along with whatever he does at the combine now, granted, injuries or whatever, but if he should be drafted, I predict he'll be drafted.
All right, we're going to put a check there. If he enters, he's drafted.
Correct.
Absolutely. Dan Jackson's going to be somewhere in that 5th to 7th round range. I think he's an auto draft, assuming he gets through this year with a clean bill of health. This injury report on this guy is going to be rather lengthy, okay, when he gets to the NFL Combine.
So even if, like, KJ Bolden takes over that safety spot, Dan Jackson is very limited playing time this season, you still would put him in that range?
Dan Jackson's going to go to the NFL Combine. He's going to be 6'1". He's going to be 203 pounds. He's going to run 4.42. You draft that guy in the 6th round, and you make him play special teams no matter what, right?
That's got Gunner all over it.
It's got Gunner all over it. It's got diehard bullet of a football player. We'll go ahead and check it off. Ernest Green, this is interesting to me. Obviously has another year of eligibility. Will certainly have a draftable grade coming out this year. He's played really, really flawless. The only thing, boys, I don't think there's any way Ernest could ever play his way into a first-round draft pick because of the physical, measurements that we're going to have. We're going to have a 6'3 1/4", 320-pound, offensive lineman who's not just some extremely superb athlete. He's a guy who's going to win with elite tech. This top end is a 2nd-round draft pick. I think there's an opportunity he returns for a 4th year at Georgia.
So kind of like I don't know how the best way to put this, but like a Jamari Sawyer-esque type of player, but just more so tackle spot.
He's better.
He's
better. Honestly, I think Isaiah Wynn, just a different type of player.
I was just more so getting at the point of he's not going to be a first-round pick, but he's a really good football
But he's not
player.
a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Jamari was a guy people watched on tape and could not figure out why.
Yeah.
Like, how is this guy surviving? He's got kind of a bad, even to this day in the NFL, real round-bodied, real big belly on him, short arms, plays tackle, 6'2 1/4. How is this working? He's just really, really good. He's a good football player, but doesn't have that high-end ceiling. I know a lot of people look at Ernest right now and they see the immediate success. They look at the Pro Football Focus grade, and I'm with you. He's a great football player. But even Isaiah Wynn, I don't think Isaiah Wynn gets redrafted in the 1st round right now. Okay, in today's day and age of drafting tackles for long length. Nonetheless, draftable grade. Warren Brinson, I'm going to tell you right now, he is a draftable football player. Dominic Lovett, yep, you can go ahead and put it. Smile Mondon, you can go ahead and put it. Arian Smith, what do we think, boys?
Needs a big year.
Needs a big year.
Production, but he's also going to zoom at the combine.
There's no way this guy's not drafted.
Yeah.
He has a one-of-one trait that the NFL is going to take.
The value on speed is too much. So.
At worst, it's it's 7th round. There's this Arian Smith kid from Georgia that just burned in the 40.
Just ran 4.21 at the NFL Combine. Damn near broke Xavier Worthy's record. We won't take this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to say that. Nazir Stackhouse would have been drafted last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever Georgia fans think of that guy, it is what it is. 5th to 6th round grade right now in Xavier Trust. Could play his way up, could play his way down. I think he's drafted. Jalen Walker, I'm going to leave open-ended. I think for Jalen Walker's purposes, I think Jalen Walker needs another year of college football.
Yeah.
Next year, Jalen Walker is going to be the guy. It's going to be C.J. Allen and Jalen Walker. They will be the two feature focus points on that Georgia defense. I'm going to hold off on him. I think Michael Williams obviously drafted. I'm going to hold off on Colby Young. What do you boys think?
I don't have a problem holding off on Colby Young.
I don't have a problem with that either.
I think we gotta provide some consistency before the NFL is going to take a stab at you as a draftable junior.
Very well could pop this year, and then at see if not, could be coming back. So
we're going to say yes on Starks. We're going to say yes on Urosic. We're going to hold off on Jared Wilson. We're going to say yes on Tate Ratledge.
How many checks you got there, Boss?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Broken draft record.
New record.
Broken draft record right there. Record. All right, and guys on this list that could legitimately play their way into a draftable grade this year. We checked Dalen Everett. We did not check Dylan Bell. We did not check Jalen Walker. We did not check Jared Wilson.
Colby Young.
Okay, we did not check Colby Young. So there are 4 more names right there that could round this out at a full 20 of draftable individuals. Who's off this list that in the spring we talked about potentially being drafted? The corners.
Yeah, I was about to say
Harris.
Yes.
Humphrey
one of
Harris.
them will be on that list.
One of them's either going to the draft or going to the portal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
ETN could go this year if he has.
ETN could go this year. I wonder why he's not on this list. Why he didn't get an invite. That's intriguing to me.
Well, this isn't the invite. This is the watch list.
Why is he not on this?
I agree.
That's worse than the invite list.
I agree.
He should be on the watch list. That seems like an oversight by the Senior Bowl committee.
I guess there are a lot of good running backs in this coming class.
Yeah. I love my interactions with that individual, but it is what it is. I don't know why I came down and back over here. All right, let's do this. Most confident take that you have headed into 2024. I have 3 of them that all tie into one.
Okay.
Go ahead and
you ready?
Off then.
All right. Most confident take I have about the 2024 Georgia Bulldogs. I think Georgia not only leads the nation in third down percentage, again, I'm doubling down, but they also lead the nation in sacks allowed, and they also finish within the top 5 in points per game.
I can play off of that one.
What is that? Does that lead?
Flawless quarterback play on third down. They're going to keep the guy clean, and they're going to finish top 5 in points.
I think that Georgia is going to lead the SEC in points per play. And when I dug this stat up, it only made me even more confident in it. They averaged 7.26 last season, which was only second behind LSU. And part of that was because Jayden Daniels had an immaculate season, a Heisman-winning season. That would have finished first in the SEC every single season since 2010, except for 4 of them.
I'm very confident that the Georgia Bulldogs will average 44 points a game this year.
44.
Right at 44. Why that number?
It seems like, I think last year was 40 even. I think it was 40.05. Seeing all the production you have coming back this year, the fact that there's not going to be these quote-unquote slow starts on offense. You're not going to be 10-0 at halftime against Arkansas State type teams. You are playing a lot better teams, but the offensive firepower is good. And the defenses you're going up against aren't exactly world beaters. Like, you think there's an avenue that Georgia can hang 40 on Texas' head in Austin. So I'm going to say over 44 points.
I want to gauge you guys' age demographic based off what's going on in the chat right now.
What's going on?
Do you know a Dem Franchise Boys song?
I know Lil Jon.
You don't know a Dem Franchise Boys song?
I could probably know one if you said it.
Lean with it, rock with it.
Okay, yes, I do know that.
With them Franchise Boys! Lean with it.
I am horrible with 2 things, and it is knowing band names, and it's also knowing the names of actors and actresses.
Yeah, I'm just bad at names in general.
I missed that. Like, I never got big into that 2000s Atlanta Crunk era.
Boy. Man, y'all missed it. Y'all missed the whole era. Kids don't even know today about grinding.
They don't.
They know about twerking, but they don't know nothing about grinding. Man, good times. Good times.
90s Memphis era was nice too, though.
What?
That's like 3-6 Mafia. And
Oh, I thought you were talking about like line dancing in the 90s.
No. Like the hip hop that was coming out of Memphis in the 90s.
Huh.
Project Pat. Solid.
Say less.
Throwback Thursday?
Yeah, let's do this. We do player of the day all the time. here on this network where we find a film of a player that Georgia is recruiting and we take a look at it. I thought today it would be awesome if we did a player of the day nostalgia version. So what Kirby has done is he has gone through a long list of highlight tapes of famous Georgia football players, and he's going to throw one up in front of me so I can go, damn, that guy sure was a great football player. Here we go.
Do you want me to tell you? Well, I guess you already know who it is. We said it pre-show.
Yeah, we said it pre-show, and it's right there on the board.
I would say we should do it to where you guess at some point.
Holy hell. All right, so first and foremost, we got our guy, Channing Tindall. Now, where did Channing Tindall go to high school? This looks like Griffin.
It was in South Carolina, I believe.
All right, so I'm going to tell you right now, you catch a linebacker in one of them stances where they up over them toes, and they like this. Oh, boy, they fitting to
elbows at 90 degrees.
Yeah, flat back out here. You fitting to absolutely unload on somebody. I got a feeling this is going to be some head-popping highlight tape right here. Oh, and we're creeping. Are we in slow-mo? Oh, no, we're just buffering. I love that.
Oh, this is good.
I thought they gave us a film in slow-mo. All right. Love this. This has been sitting here for a while. Is that what's been going on?
Just pulled it up.
No, it just pulled it up. All right, here we go. We're getting nostalgic with Channing Tindall highlight tapes. 149 tackles. Not a bad season.
No.
Tyler Atkinson had 198 last year.
Oh my God.
198 tackles.
That's
He's going to go
insane.
over 200.
What's the most games you played in a high school season? 14?
I think they played 12 games last year. Yeah.
Jesus.
This is not going as well as we planned.
No.
But it's eventually going to go.
You would hope so.
Technology ain't. Chat's loving the 90s.
The idea?
Not even that, 90s and 2000s hip hop references.
The one time it wants to do it.
I mean, what in the ever-loving piss is going on today?
But going back to this, do you think, was there ever a player that you watched tape for a Georgia football player and you were sure prior to that you're like, this is a hit?
Fuck that. Just off tape alone? This is a tough question for me because a lot of these kids I make a habit of going and seeing. So
before you got really deep,
that pisses me off. I can't believe that happened.
Before you got really deep into the weeds,
That's a huddle problem, by the way. Huh?
Before you get really deep into the weeds of the recruiting and actually going out and seeing these kids in person, was there a tape or a buzz that you got around where you're like, hey, this kid in the class of 2016 is really gaining steam, and you were like, you know what, I'm certain he's going to hit?
I thought Clay Webb was going to be so good.
He is.
Clay Webb's
really good.
highlight tape from, I think he played at Oxford in Alabama. His highlight tape was just nasty. Nasty. Everything that Cedric Van Pran became was shown in his high school highlight tape and was there in the eval if you actually looked for it. There were so many different articles and so many different stories about the leadership values that Cedric had as a 16, 17-year-old high school kid. I still believe to this day he's the first and only player in Louisiana State history to win the leadership award 2 years in a row for that state.
Jeez.
He was and is a phenomenal human being. Always was, always will be. I'm trying to think of other guys that I just watched tape and thought, holy shit, this guy's going to be so good. Tyson Campbell's highlight tape to this day is unheard of in terms of the quality of tape on there.
How many passing yards did they allow there? Because they had, who was the other? Pat Surtain?
Yeah, there's no way teams even tried to throw the ball.
Yeah, like why? How many passing yards did they allow that season?
I don't know, but the Clay Webb profile turned out all right, just not for Georgia.
I feel like there are definitely some of this last recruiting class.
Yeah.
There were some where we were watching on an early national signing. They were like, that feels like that's going to be a really good football player.
Nate Frazier felt that way for us. Jordan Thomas felt that way for us. All of the wife scouts, Ellis Robinson, Justin Williams, Chris Cole, KJ Bolden. I mean, there were five wife scouts last year, or last class. That 2025 class is something else. We'll say, 2024. We'll see if they develop into it. I felt 2022's class was going to be insane. Brock Vandegrift is 21. Brock Vandegrift's class with like Brock, Amarius, Xavier Sorey, Smile. There was one other linebacker that they signed, Pop. I thought that class was going to be insane. It didn't quite turn out to what I thought it was going to be. A lot of transfers in that class.
A lot of running out of time and just
bad circumstance from a playing time standpoint for a lot of those guys.
Yeah, so can't really blame it on that. I think a lot of those players are still good football players. Just maybe their ceiling may not be hit at Georgia.
Do you want to try it one more time?
Yeah, we can. I can see if it'll play.
But yeah, just see if it rolls over there.
I got it pulled up on my laptop. It's
It
going.
looks like it is.
All right. Let's try this one more again. All right.
This is the first time that's happened, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not
All the
loving
time.
what it's doing down here on the bar anyways. I don't think it's going to actually work for us yet. It buffered immediately.
The hell?
All right.
All right. Well, that was a long week of show. I need the chat's help on where I should go tomorrow. I need your guys' help on where I should go tomorrow.
Sequoia versus Cherokee. Sequoia versus Cherokee.
Yeah, not going there.
I'll be there.
So Jonesboro plays at Douglas County, but I can almost guarantee I'm going to see Douglas County
I was about to say.
another time this year. I can almost guarantee Westlake's going to Douglas County or Douglas County's going to Westlake at some point, sometime. Those two teams will play and I will be there. And the only other options are like way out of state. So I just don't know where I'm going tomorrow. Maybe I'll take the day off, but that's unlike me.
Are you doing a Friday night light?
I'm done on that. I'm done doing Friday Night Lights for two reasons. One, no one volunteered to be my videographer this year. Two, I'm not paying a videographer this year. Three, nobody watched it. Nobody watched it. I told somebody this the other day while I was at the Dome because they asked me about it. Where's Friday Night Lights? Why aren't you getting filmed today? Why aren't you doing this, that, and the other? And I said, dude, I love my fans and I love our not my fans. I love our listeners because I can grab my phone, go sit in a room somewhere in the corner and just turn a live stream on and do a Q&A. And we'll have 5,000-6,000 people watch that. I go out and do that Friday Night Mike stuff. Like 2,500 people watch it. And this is what I love. Oh, we loved it in the chat. Oh, we loved it. I know the people that found it and watched it. I know y'all loved it because I love doing it. I did. It's some of my favorite content I've created. That being said, the numbers are the numbers. If you don't watch it, I'm not going to do it. Especially if it costs. Those things cost like $600 an episode.
Yeah.
Because you're paying for editing, you're paying for videography, you have to pay for the equipment. It's just so expensive to do that stuff. So.
Yeah.
Unless somebody wants to tag along for free and hold a camera and edit for free. I mean, our videographer, I didn't ask you guys to do it because it's so much fucking work. I mean, that videographer was working on Sundays from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Editing those videos.
Yeah, man, that's a whole lot of footage you got to go through.
You're shooting a 4-hour football game.
Yeah.
And condensing it into a 30-minute episode, while also overlaying my video and my audio. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Absolute
nightmare to do that stuff for 2,500 people to watch it. So, just not going to do it.
Sounds like you're going to Jonesboro, Douglas County if you're going.
I guess.
Don't sound so excited, bro. Hey, I'm telling you, bro, you could always come to Sequoia.
I could also do what some people on the Georgia beat are doing, which is going up to Tennessee and seeing Jared Curtis. But dude, he plays nobody.
Yeah.
Plays nobody. I would almost get just as much of an intel on a read on him from an eval standpoint. Just go watch him throw on air. That's basically what he's doing. All right. I'm good here. Here. Appreciate you guys. It was a great show. It was a great week of shows, I should say, here on the network. Appreciate Betr for sponsoring us tonight on the night show. Appreciate you guys for watching. We'll see y'all another time.
We'll get throwback